Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
9, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Zach Golden. Welcome to another Starbase weekly live stream. It's going to be a little bit different show today. We got just me and Ryan here, so that should be fun. We also have Indy handling questions and donations. But yeah, happy to be here with y'all today. It's a lot going on this week, tons to talk about as always. I think we actually have this flyover is from Thursday. As you can see, it was a bit hazy out, but Mauricio was able to get some really good images, and I think he might actually be potentially flying like Monday or Tuesday again, so that's really awesome, getting a second flyover so quickly. But yeah, Brian, how's it going?
It's going good. I know we got a lot of cool photos. As always, there's lots of cool stuff to discuss, and so it'll be exciting to share these photos with everyone.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think I was going to be able to do the show today because I'm busy recording stuff right now, so thought I was going to have to skip this week, but got a lot more done than I thought I was going to, so that worked out well. But yeah, we will go ahead and hop into today's show. Nice to see everybody in the chat as well. Oh, sorry, I thought somebody was like directing a question towards me already, but just people saying hello. Hi, everybody in the chat. Cool. We'll go ahead and start the show then. And over at Massey's, as always. And stuff at Massey's is actually picking back up. I mean, I don't know if it had necessarily ever truly stopped, to tell you the truth. They had probably about a week or two of less action once they finished the static fire test stand, but now they're back to doing more modifications, as y'all have kind of been following on too. But we'll start over here with the static fire stand, where I don't think there's really I say this every week. I don't think there's anything that they're doing over here right now, but I could be wrong. I haven't been paying attention to this specific area.
I think the primary thing has just been the drainage and water control around the area, but yeah, I haven't noticed any significant changes, I guess, to the static fire stand recently, or the kind of the gantry thing system next to it.
Yeah, it's weird how long it's taken them to do this water line. Experts in cutting up concrete, and they take forever to lay these pipes down. It's like they do one pipe per day. Let's see. Sorry, trying to get a different angle of this. Although I don't think there's really much else to talk about back there. These pictures are slightly disorienting to me right now because a lot of them are top down. Just checking back in this area. Nothing back here. Oh, they did have a whole bunch of stuff like laid out against this wall back here. So this is kind of leading to the liquid nitrogen farm that they're modifying. So there's tons of work going on over there. They've have started manufacturing most of this stuff at the ground fabrication building instead of sending it all the way from Florida. I think that's kind of basically allowing Florida to focus on Florida instead of Texas, since they have quite a bit of work going on down there. But yeah, we can see all of the components. I think these are, I don't know if these are just pumps or valve skids or if they're also pumps, because we saw these arrive last week, and I actually I can't show the area, but we don't have images that look quite at that area, but I can bring up some images from last week, I think, just to show this. Okay, sorry. There's like a top-down one that was really good. There we go. Yeah, so this is what they look like. And I think these might actually be pumps, kind of what it looks like. I see a huge valve here, but I think beneath this might be a pump, and we see two more down here. Pretty sure those are pumps. I mean, they actually look more like hydraulic pumps to me, but they could be liquid nitrogen pumps, which is interesting because try and get a view of that area. So they actually already have, as y'all know, the pumps that were previously used for liquid oxygen. So we've kind of been expecting that they would just reuse those for the liquid nitrogen. But I mean, they've even been running pipes over to that area. So it is slightly confusing. We can still see the pipe coming from this direction, which is basically the supply coming out of these liquid nitrogen tanks, and it's still going into these pumps over here. But it seems like each tank has its own pump skid. So I'm kind of confused what's going on here, honestly. This is one of those things that, number one, it'd be helpful to have a view from the opposite side, but also I'm sure Alex has probably looked into this slightly more than I have, so he may already have an idea of what exactly is going on. But yeah, this is another big conversion for the tank farm out here, which is funny just how many of them there've been. But I think they're getting closer to a final configuration, and really it's kind of nice because it seems like it takes up a lot less space. You know, it's not taking up this entire basically quadrant of the site, and it's now just a little kind of, I don't know, like a half the size essentially of what it was before. So that'll be nice once it's finished. They've already started to finally remove the tanks that were here this week. I think there was three here. These are actually got sent out. Matter of fact, I think we can show that really quick. They were getting loaded at the port. So yeah, I think these are some of the old tanks. These might actually be the old methane tanks. Oh no, these are. Wait, what? 5. Yeah, these are the methane tanks, I think. And then I believe that there's another view of. It must be somewhere else. Okay, well, they're not here. Well, I don't know where they went. I thought that was them. Um, yeah, so still have more stuff coming in. I think these are all for the water deluge farm. So these are the liquid nitrogen tanks for the water deluge farm. I have a feeling this is probably methane recovery related or liquefaction, but it would be super early for that because they haven't started drilling or laying down the actual pipeline to the launch site. So that would be pretty early for these to arrive. There's something going on in the back corner that I don't know if we have an angle of, but I'm kind of getting all over the place right here right now. The point is they moved all of those tanks out and actually had new ones arriving as well too. And I think these ones already went to the launch site.
At least one of them went to the launch site last night. I think it was parked over by the mega bunker. I'm not sure if they both went or if it was just one.
So there's three? Okay. Yeah, three of them that came in. Man, it's just crazy how many tanks we've seen come in and out of here over the years. So they do need two at Massey's, but these actually are a different type than what they've brought in. So I'm guessing all of those ones are going to the launch site more than likely. Or hopefully, because it'd be nice to see a row of tanks that are all the same for once. So moving on, with this being in the process of being modified, that made it so none of these test stands over here can really be used right now because they've essentially disconnected all of the cryo lines that were going to the stand. But they did roll out the nose cone that everybody's kind of been keeping an eye on over the past few months. And I guess since we've been jumping around, we might as well keep doing that. It was actually in the process of being rolled out as Mauricio was doing this flyover. So Ryan, as we kind of look at some images of these, do you have some ideas yet of what this is being used to test? I haven't been paying as close attention to the specific nose cone other than just being aware that it exists.
Yeah, it's kind of a funky deal. It basically appears to be like a forward dome payload bay plus the nose cone itself, and they did put some hardware. We believe they put some hardware inside of it that actually interfaces with the same mounting points that the PEZ dispenser does, so that black kind of trapezoid shaped thing that we've seen, move around. It's kind of been a big question whether it was going to be part of like the super crusher or what. We believe that's actually inside of here, sitting on top of the forward dome, and that's bolted into kind of where the PEZ dispenser would normally bolt. And so it kind of implies that there's going to be some actuators like connected to that would be doing some things inside of the payload bay. We also kind of see at the top of the nose cone how it's got that kind of piece of metal welded to the side of it to act as an actuator connection point. There's also then that kind of pipe and the flange poking out of the same kind of side there on the left, with a couple other smaller ones. We believe that those are also actuator related. We also think that this is going to be pressurized. So if you have to pass, hydraulic lines or high pressure gas lines or whatever it is, inside of the ship, it's going to have to go through kind of a bulkhead, because we do think that it is going to be pressurized in order for them to kind of test what they want to test. So that's probably what a lot of those connections are. They're at the top of the nose cone. Now that we know that it's going in the super crusher, we also know that they're kind of on the top level of that stand. They do have some of their kind of ground support hookups, so it makes sense why they would be feeding stuff into it from the top there. But beyond that, we don't really know a whole lot about kind of what they want to test. I believe this does not have header tanks. So there's maybe some assumptions that they may be trying to test kind of the torquing involved on the nose in regards to header tanks being at different capacities. Maybe trying to impart some forces on those connection points, similar to kind of what we saw them do with kind of the landing tank, as well as the kind of the booster down calmer. We believe that that might be what they're doing. Also, it does have the tiled catch points or load points on the sides, so presumably they'll also be doing some verification with that. And it's possible they may actually kind of speed run a test of testing those catch points sooner rather than later, given that there is the possibility that they might try and catch the next ship at the launch site. So that'll be exciting to see if they kind of speed run.
Actually reminds me that you just made something pop into my head. Um, so I mean, if it doesn't have header tanks, and you said maybe have connections for the Pez loader or Pez dispenser, um, I'm thinking about like, so they've already landed multiple ships with the Pez dispenser in there, so they know that like, I mean, I think a previous thought was that like, now that they're going to be returning to the launch site, they want to have actual numbers that they can show for like what kind of forces that structure is able to withstand during reentry. Like they already know it survives, but maybe they want to put actual numbers to it, right? But I'm thinking, what happens if the payload door doesn't open? So if you get to orbit and the payload door doesn't open, does that automatically mean that you have to ditch the ship in the ocean, or are you still going to try and return it? So I think now that they're actually launching real payloads, maybe that this could be simulating landing with a full payload. Because I mean, if you can't get rid of it, then you've got to bring it back, right? So I imagine that could be
that
like a worst case emergency scenario that they need to be able to know that they can handle.
that is an interesting idea. I'm not sure how much I, agree with that, just from the standpoint that if you're trying to do a flip and burn with, say, like 100 tons of Starlinks in there, I don't think that's going to go well with the 3 engines and the capacity that they have in the headers themselves. I mean, they have more capacity in there than I think we realize, but I'm not sure if there's actually enough delta V there to, especially after they do any, in orbit burns. Um, I'm not sure if that would actually result in a successful catch. Um, it
Is it just like double the weight of the ship,
Yeah,
basically?
that's kinda that's
All in
kinda
the nose
scary.
code.
But to add to that, I mean, what you're thinking is a little bit along the lines of what I was imagining, just not that extreme. But obviously they've landed these ships in the ocean, but they've never really put them under like dynamic tension. So like when they come in to catch with the tower, they're going to be hanging, all of that weight from the load points. Now when they stack, they do that as well, but it's not dynamic. It doesn't have any propellant in it, any extra gases. It's basically just the dry weight at that point. So there's more dynamics involved with catching from those same points than just kind of a static lift.
Yeah. Would you think that, uh, I don't know if it's a one-to-one type thing, that if you did land with the payload and you had double the weight, that you would need double the propellant?
The math gets interesting on that. I'm not really sure without running through it, but I think you would definitely, unless you adjust your landing burn, you're definitely going to hit the water or the ground before you've fully nulled out your velocity, even if you have enough capacity to do that. It would be an interesting exercise to try and run through the math on that, though, to see if they even had enough propellant capacity to change the delta V enough for that.
Could they aero brake more with the flaps to reduce speed before they do the flip maneuver?
Um, I mean, yes, you've got drag. There is some kind of minimum speed, but the second that you kind of fold those flaps back to do the flip, it's going to want to start accelerating down because you're going to remove that drag to initiate that flip. So those dynamics are going to be a little bit different. But
But
if
you
you're
would
not
just fold in
outputting enough
the
thrust,
aft flaps.
yeah, they would fold in the aft flaps and then yeah, I would do the flip. But it really comes down to what how much propellant they have to burn and whatnot. I'm hesitant to say that they would do that. At this point in the program, if the payload bay doesn't open, we got problems because we've already run through that a couple times.
It could be something. Doesn't necessarily have to be the payload door, but you could have multiple things go wrong. That you can have something jam in the actual dispenser mechanism. And kind of just thinking about this, like they've also been testing the flaps, right? Like theoretically, they could be testing for that higher load that they would experience if they came back with a payload. And at some point, they're going to need to be able to do that anyways, because if they want to do point to point, they're going to have a payload when they land.
Yeah, eventually what you're proposing, I think, would be a possible, whether you want to call it a failure mode or something else. I think that would be a valid thing to understand. However, in the near term, I think if they ran into that problem, they probably would just ditch the whole thing, because then there's too many unknowns with trying to bring that back to the launch site.
Wait. But hold on a second. The whole point of Starship is to get to Mars with 150 tons of payload. So if you can't do it, if you can't land like that on Earth, like I feel like you have to be able to, or else the whole thing is pointless. Right?
It would be an interesting exercise to try and run the numbers for. I'm not going to do that live.
For sure. But yeah, so that nose cone is now out here and is inside of this test structure. So that's pretty much only going to involve pressurizing it for the most part as far as GSE is concerned. They did add a bunch of stuff onto the inside of this, which, if I'm being honest, I haven't compared like before and afters yet. But I do know they have this device like down here, which would support something that's underneath the common or the forward dome. These are these from landing rail? The landing rail. What is that?
Yeah, those are the bumpers on the side.
And these were added in after 18.3 is removed? I think.
They've been in and out a couple of times now. Trying to think. Yeah, it was removed. They did put them back in, yes. So they look like they're probably just in a resting position right now, out of the way, so that they can, because it was kind of janky for them to get those in there with the test tank. So I think maybe what they're trying to do now is to save some work. They're kind of temporarily putting them up, because we're actually seeing the bumpers. So they're like rotated 90 degrees. They should actually be kind of vertical, but they're horizontal kind of right now. So I'm guessing they're just storing them right now. They'll put, the nose cone goes in there, and then they might flip them once they're in place.
Yeah, that's strange. What is going on here? I see a bunch of. Oh, they do have those. Those are just the flap attachment points that we were seeing on the side. No, they're not. So it looks like they're going to be attaching actuators or maybe just struts here.
Depending on how high up those are, you might have to find an image that shows sort of being straight down and shows a little bit of angle to it. I know there was, some older hardware that they used on 18.3, so I'm not sure if that's that hardware or if that's specifically for the nose cone.
We do have some ground images of Massey's this week, or actually we have ground images from everywhere. Let's see. Oh boy. Difficult to see what I'm looking for here. Okay, they're right up here, I think. What? It's just a roller, a caster wheel? That's strange.
Well, that's one way to make sure it's aligned when they lift it in.
see if I can see it a little bit lower on it. If there's an image with it all zoomed out, let's see. I don't think there's a full image of the whole thing. I tried. I get a little disoriented looking at these super zoomed in ones sometimes.
It's definitely good to have these ground shots because it definitely gives you a different perspective than the air. Like that triangle kind of there in the middle. Didn't really look that tall in the aerial pictures, but yeah, it's it's pretty up there.
Huge. Yeah, I wonder if there's going to be actuators on this as well too, on the top here.
I mean, we technically don't know what is underneath the nose cone, like if it actually has a forward dome, or if it's just empty and they're going to rely on kind of sealing to the bottom of the test, structure as kind of their
Oh, good point.
pressurized volume. It could be a number of things. I mean, that could be technically supporting a dome potentially. Like if
Wait,
the bottom,
wouldn't it have a weld line for the
it
common
could,
or the forward dome?
it would, it'd be probably pretty hard to see as it would be further down than. Well, I guess, yeah, there would be a dome there potentially, but we're not sure at the very bottom if there's a dome down there too. Like, are they able to pressurize the bottom portion, or is it just open?
Up and all the way up, yeah. I mean, there also, I guess, could be a dome that has a hole in the middle of it too. We've seen that a lot of times.
So basically, if they're not able to pressurize kind of the bottom portion, then pressurizing the payload bay would push the dome down, which would, if you think about it, like you don't have equal pressure, you're to essentially turn into like, I think, was it ship 27 had that issue where it kind of inverted the dome. You wouldn't want that to happen, so you might have to have some structure underneath that dome to kind of hold it up, which might be what that triangular structure is there in the middle.
I miss my old way of going through these images because I could use my little stream deck and just set up each site on a little button. Now I gotta do all this clicking. It's actually been about a year and a half since since OBS failed me. There's also some interesting little frames over here, and I'm actually not sure because I wasn't able to be there for the show and tell. If somebody came up with an idea of what these are for. But they're certainly strange. I would say it almost looks like it's made for something to do with flaps, but like probably not.
Yeah, that
Indy
shape
or
is interesting.
do you know if somebody had an idea for these? And usually Chrome Kiwi models like everything, so I'd be surprised if he didn't already have a model for this.
No, I think everyone's baffled by those.
Okay.
Well, if you zoom back in, Zach, there is maybe a couple of things. So, like, look at the ones on the right. There's seemingly some like standoffs that are basically create like a horizontal plane. Yeah, right where your cursor's on. There's one there and one there. So there's something straight that it would potentially mount to. Given that there's a triangular bar that goes where those guys are working there on the right, it makes a little bit of a triangle, and that would kind of impede a kind of a horizontal bar through there. So that would kind of imply maybe some sort of a perpendicular connection. So it kind of looks like it's going to like branch over something that might be mounted kind of horizontally.
Could this be? Oh, never mind. I was wondering because like these sides are all equal, so I was wondering if it could be like an octagon, but probably not. I don't see any other frames out here that this would attach to. I guess it could be something on this, but I imagine if it's related to that nose cone test, it would probably already be there. It'd probably already be installed.
So those two on the left actually look like they're further in the assembly process, and I can't. It almost looks like, based on the shadows,
See this right here.
they're coming up at an angle, I think.
I feel like there should be something out here that these are going to attach to that we should be able to see already. Let's look at it from a different angle. That is not what I wanted. That's basically the same thing.
You can see them at an angle there. They're kind of right behind that yellow umbrella there. Yeah, so they're definitely coming off at an angle. So they're at this point, I would either assume they're going to connect to like columns somewhere and kind of hang either kind of vertically and oppose, the triangular would, oppose a force. They're not over by the static fire stand, so maybe they're not part of that. It kind of screams like maybe they could be auxiliary stuff specific for the super crusher.
What happened to the grid fin testing jig? I thought that came here.
I guess I can't remember which day that actually moved out now. If it was here or if it was still back at Sanchez. Oh, actually, it's right there, behind the pole.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right there.
So it looks like they're testing the actuators right now. Let's see if I can get a top down of that one.
Yeah, this area is
I'm going to
usually
go
where they
blind looking at these
calibrate.
tiny thumbnails. Sorry.
Yeah,
Brian.
they usually calibrate the actuators or pressures over in this area. It's kind of where they bring all their older actuators to kind of get them ready for their next job. So it would make sense that it could be over here getting some final testing done on it.
Yeah, no top downs on this one, I don't think. Close. I have no idea where I'm at right now.
It would be just to the left, top left corner, I think.
Okay, yeah, so we're probably not going to have a top down of that then. That's funny because sometimes I tell Mauricio, like, dude, there's way too many images, but then in reality, there's really, you can never have too many, I don't think. Sorry, trying to find another angle, but not going to succeed in that. Let's see, what else is going on out here? They are adding this new concrete pad over here. Not really sure what they're going to put. Assuming that they may try to like just like organize this area better. Well, actually, you kind of have if you put another work stand here, like also, I mean, I feel like we might end up seeing potentially like this cryo station move, possibly. It's one thing I've been wondering if that would end up happening. Moving all of the test stands over here, and like if you wanted to build another static fire stand out here, I wonder if there would be space by moving these.
The layout of Massey's has always been very odd. It's kind of technical debt more or less, because you set things up one way and then something else changes. It makes the original way not efficient, and it's kind of in this constant back and forth battle of trying to improve the efficiency. And yeah, it's not laid out the greatest for what they're currently trying to do, but yeah, we'll have to kind of see what they reconfigure.
Yeah, I cancel that idea because there's no way you're going to fit another static fire stand over there. We did not talk about this one. It seems like they're still getting set up on this.
Yeah, I don't think we've not seen any testing from this for a little bit, I don't believe. But yeah, they're definitely still hooking stuff up. It's getting
Running hydraulics.
It's getting harder to see anything with all the scaffolding and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it does look like they hooked up the cables how we were, I guess, discussing in show and tell a couple of weeks back, where it's kind of hard to see, but they're kind of pulling like, yeah, that would be a little bit better. They're kind of pulling like tangentially to a lot of the points that we originally saw. So using some
Whoa.
beams there to. So yeah,
Wait, what? So these actuators are connected to this,
yeah, and then there's
and
cables on either side that go to the little eyelets on the side of the tank.
what's holding it vertical?
Good question. It may just be under tension and kind of hanging.
Like chain fault, the chain hoist on the side right here?
That could be, yeah. Yeah, that might be how
That's
it's being held right
interesting.
now. But during test, it would definitely be under tension. Those chain hoists. Well, I suppose they probably could be there, depending on how far they pull. They might be able to leave those in there.
That would be a good thing to have a ground image of, but it's too far back there to actually see it from the ground. Let's see if I can get a side angle of this. No.
Yeah, you can just barely see some of the white beams in that one.
It's kind of a good one. Okay, so these look like individual beams connected to the actuators in two locations, possibly.
Yeah, I can't tell. I don't remember on these if they're like an H pattern and we're kind of seeing the side of
There's
the
just
H,
one.
or because that one, I kind of, given that top one's not connected, it kind of feels like the white is like an H pattern on its side, and then they connect like two actuators to it. And maybe those chain hoists are actually only holding the bottom side. So then I guess the top that's towards this is just kind of suspended, under the structural component. But yeah,
Looks like there's 3 levels to it, right? 3. So there's 3, possibly even 4.
I think there's 2 that are the same, and then there's maybe 2 more that are different below it. That's kind of what we're seeing. You
Yeah.
can see the kind of the eyelets on the side of the tank right there, the silver kind of pieces that look a little rounded in the center, like just to the right of your cursor. There's like 2 at the top that are maybe a little bit smaller, and then there's 2 more. Nope, go back a little bit more to your left. Yeah, right there.
Oh,
So
these.
yeah. So you can see the 2 bottom ones are different than the top 2. So I think there's different setups going on there.
I wonder if I'm the only one tilting my head to the side while I'm looking at this right now. I was looking to see if there's like a rotation. Oh, look. No, we're not going to go there. Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of hope they end up talking about this in the next documentary. I feel like they could probably do an hour-long documentary just on all of the testing that they've been doing at Massey's over the last year and a half-ish. This one would definitely be interesting to learn about because it's certainly looks like it's a pretty important thing that they're doing here with how intricate this setup is.
Yeah, the only thing I can assume is that this is related to high angle of attack returning back to the launch site and imagining a lot of the dynamic forces in play, like, because the LOX tank is going to be, basically empty, but this is still going to be pretty full for the landing burn. So you've got a pretty heavy thing that's kind of suspended in a tank by linkages, and that, the body of the vehicle, it might be bouncing around, vibrating, doing a lot of things. And so you probably want to really test this thing with, every force that you can think to do, just to make sure that it's not going to, burst open, under those different tension forces and linkages, and that environment is going to be pretty interesting. I think they're going to put the version 3 boosters through, quite a bit in order to get them back to the launch site. So it's good to kind of see them doing this testing.
Yeah, I wonder if there was like pushback when they decided to do this extra landing tank idea. Because I imagine there was at least somebody who's like, that's a massive amount of weight to be hanging off the wall like that. This is like the little tanks that they installed on the on the old landing tank, the little I don't know what you call them, like the expansion tanks, I guess. Not really. That's not the best word. But hanging those off the wall is one thing. Something this heavy is completely different. So I can only imagine the internal debates on whether or not something like that was a good idea.
I mean, it has pros and cons to it. I mean, obviously, during ascent, it's not a huge deal because it's like in the LOX tank surrounded by oxygen, so it's not, suspended and hanging off the wall. It's more so a problem on the way, returning back to the launch site. However, it is on like the bottom facing side of the vehicle when it's gliding back to the launch site. So technically, it's not hanging off the wall. It's more kind of being supported by the tank wall. So that is that's a whole different force discussion, I guess, when you get to that point.
I wonder if those struts that hold it together, how they perform under cryogenic conditions, like if they become more brittle or something like that. Because that's something they can't really test for. Well, they probably can, just not here. Okay, let's see. Anything else at Massey's? I've only gone through these one time this morning myself, so I'm not sure if I missed anything.
That brings up a good point. With the struts, I'd imagine they would also have to be able to flex as with cryo load. Like if you think about with SLS, the aft struts for the SRB. If you look at it, I remember for the Artemis 1, one of the wet dresses, one of the streams you could see at the start of it, the strut was kind of flexed down, but by the time they had it fully loaded, it had flexed up into the a straighter position as they loaded the cryo.
Yeah,
I feel like
you start factoring in the thermodynamics, in the materials, and it starts to get pretty interesting pretty quick. It's, there's components that are meant to stay, if they like weld, the tank together, like that's kind of meant to stay. But then if you have something, else in there, like another component that may expand and contract at a different rate, that becomes a more dynamic environment that you have to plan for. So a lot of that little fine engineering stuff that typically people don't think about, that they definitely have to consider when they're doing stuff like this.
Definitely. Indy, do we have any questions from Massey's?
We have lots of donations and a couple of questions. Yeah, we'll start with the donations. We'll start with PayPal donations. We want to thank Peter O for his $100 donation. And it's from Degacat. And he says, doing what I can to help support Mauricio and the amazing community here. Thank you for the update on what we're trying to accomplish after the show and tell. Great ideas to implement. So thank you, Degacat, for that $100 donation. We want to also thank Jap Kuipers for their $25 donation. And they said, for some more fuel this month, thank you so much. We want to thank Crane Man for his $10 donation. And he says, hey guys, let's start the donation train. And then to Zack, he has a question about, he wants to know when Pad B merchandise from CSI Starbase will become available. And then we got
I already have the Stage 0 2.0 shirt.
Yep.
And
then we also want to thank Ulrich M for their $10 donation. And he says, just to be mentioned, laugh. And then we also want to thank Methane Man, who also became a member today. Thank you so much for joining our team, for his $50 donation. And he says, more money for fuel. We want to thank Brian Aries for his $5 donation, T. Evans for their $10 donation, Wilbo Baggins for their £10 donation, DMHMT for her $5 donation, Des Nichols for his $20 Australian donation, and he says, cool show fee. Joe in Space donated $20 and says, thanks for the great streams and info. You guys definitely rock. And Yazada came in with $10. Thank you all so much for your generosity. It's amazing. We can't thank you enough. And this week is a great week because we have a double flyer. So it's going to do a...
You cut out there, Andy.
Hopefully you can hear me now. The donations are greatly appreciated because we're going to have a double flyover week. On Tuesday, Mauricio's going to do the mini flyover, and Friday, he's going to do a regular flyover. So keep an eye in Patreon Lounge for times, as well as on YouTube. There'll be public streams, so you'll see them come up on your For You page, hopefully. With regard to the questions, we'll start off with the question from Python. Python's wondering, are there any updates on the Massey's expansion and what will be in that expansion? Another static fire trench?
I am not the
So
right
he's-
person to ask that. I think Event Dudes is probably more on that than anyone else.
And so Event
I
Dudes
haven't
did
really heard
answer in
anything else
chat.
about it.
Yeah, Event Dudes answered in chat, and he said, still waiting on the judge to answer the injunction question on the lawsuit, else the agreement land swap is set to be signed on August 12th, so sometime after that. I got you, Zach.
Nice.
And that's it for the questions and donations for Massey's. The only other thing you were looking for at Massey's, right next to the green trees across from the black test stand, are the legs for the new potential Big Crusher test stand. That would be the only other thing that I think you might want to point out.
Let's see. Like, should I be able to see it in this one?
Yep. Just to the right, just above. Yeah, that's it. You got it.
So they're going to be... Well, that's weird. Because these go on the bottom. Oh.
The thought is those white legs will create
They're
a
gonna
second
move it?
one. I don't think they're going to move it. I think the thought is that'll be for a second stand like that.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I mean, you can actually see if you zoom back in on the ones on the right, Zach, there's like a little gusset at the bottom, I think, already, and those actually look a bit smaller than the ones that already exist. So maybe this is it's either that or those are lead-ins. Those might actually be lead-ins, actually. No, yeah. Changed my mind. Those are lead-ins for those. So those actually probably wouldn't be the bottoms, maybe. They might be something else.
Well, I've been kind of thinking, kind of expecting that they would move this. So I do wonder if that's another possibility as well, because I don't know how this is attached to the ground. They may not, like if they wanted to move it. Actually, this whole structure is welded together, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think you're moving that.
Yeah,
At least not
probably
without a torch.
Interesting. So then we'll probably see a second one over here, I'm guessing then. Wow. See, and everybody thought that we would be getting to the end of structural testing. Nope.
Oh, they got a lot of stuff to test. I mean, they'll have to probably recertify like a bunch of stuff with, version 4, boosters and ships and whatnot. So, not to mention, some of the more prototype stuff like, tankers and, depots. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, Massey's is not going to go silent once Starship is flying like operational missions. There's always going to be stuff to test here.
Definitely.
Also, the other payload bay variants once they get into doing that.
Yeah, true. Does this little pad have any embeds on it, I wonder?
No, we haven't seen any. And we didn't see any pilings going underneath it either.
Just another block of concrete then.
Yep.
But whatever they're going to do, it's going to extend out this way. This almost... Is that just to the edge of this? Okay, never mind. I can't tell if this rebar is coming from the old concrete or if this is from the... I guess
That
it's
was like the
coming from
new.
old.
I think,
You think it's from the new? Drill into this.
it looks like it's the new. If you look down at the bottom left, it doesn't span all the way over.
Oh yeah, good point. Wonder if they had to like drill, if it just stops against this or if it like is drilled into there. Interesting. I'm sure by next week we will, possibly even Monday, we'll probably have some more ideas of what's going on here. What is going on here too? Oh wait, this is a new pad as well, right? I think.
Yep. Alex is under the impression that those two new ones that they poured to the right there, are for cranes, since they don't have any sort of support underneath them.
Certainly possible. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if we get another one of these. Probably tired of modifying it for ships and boosters all the time. Just like one for a ship and one for a booster.
It looks like they possibly could place it bottom left, actually, where they're building the new stuff. If they were to build it right, in that spot, then they could maybe have kind of common manifolds running to both of them. With,
right. If
you're
saying if they built it here.
Actually, no, just to the right where the new kind of triangular structures are being built. But yeah, right up
Here.
there. Like if they were to put it up in this area, because it does seem like they're doing a lot of cutting of concrete in this area. So, but
oh, is this all cut?
That's kind of what I was wondering.
Yeah, it looks like it.
But anyway, there's definitely some reconfiguration going on in this area, which is nice to see.
Never ends. Alrighty. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and move over to the Sanchez site. Unless there was anything else, Indy, on the questions. I think we got all of them.
Yeah, we got all the questions.
I saw somebody in the chat ask me a question, and we're going to get to it. And also, your guess is very, very, very incorrect. Who was that? That was
Nicholas.
Nicholas Dornan. Yeah. It was an interesting idea. But yeah, we'll get to that here shortly. So yeah, as I was saying, the ground fab building is back to making stuff for Starbase. Well, they technically never really stopped, but they I want to say they were focused on like so all of these skids were coming from Florida, and I think that there's still components that like go in between a lot of the skids. So all the pipes that weren't actually attached directly to skids was what they were producing in here. Actually, now that I think about it,
I mean, you can kind of think of the skids as kind of like Lego pieces. They get these prepackaged Lego pieces, but then you still have to set it up and then make your pipe runs between all of those Lego pieces, which that kind of depends on the site itself. So you have on-site manufacturing of those pipes that you're able to kind of quickly run out there with a tape measure or have somebody else measure it for you and send the measurements, and they can fab together a pipe later that day or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's all this stuff that's on this rack. All of this, everything that connects to these skids is kind of what they were doing over the past year or so. And it seems like now they're able to kind of take over what the Florida team was doing. So that's good to see. Moving a little bit away from that. The launch mount is finally getting some love. Quite a lot to talk about over in this image. But yeah, they looks like the corners, all but 2 corners have arrived, I think. I've already got them placed over here, so finally starting to get the remaining components that they need to get started on this.
Yeah, it looks like they're already starting to fab up, or I guess refine the little cover plates that'll go between that. You can see the guys down there. Looks like he's actually midway through, maybe scraping some rust off.
Yeah, grinding them down. I wonder if they probably have to do those to these as well too, right?
Yeah, you'd want clean metal.
Wonder what they do with them in the meantime, because like if you set them to the side, they're just going to rust again in a few days. So
I would imagine that probably means that, well, given they've got blocking up between those pieces already, spanning the gap to keep it consistent, I'm going to guess that they're probably going to start welding those in kind of as soon as they're.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, they're getting the kind of the supports there for the middle corner pieces in there as well. So those will also kind of imply that they'll be getting that top deck, added in there as soon as they can as well.
Yeah, was this here last week or was it over with these ones? It seems like they're almost trying to get it up there now. Because theoretically, you could put the middle section, you could put this on top while these are still being welded, unless you're worried about it tipping over or something.
Yeah, you'd probably want to make sure you have, well, for stable ground, because that might add a little bit of torque to that. So you might want to make sure you've got a good weld between, I guess, the beam in the corners and then the perpendicular beams as well. So yeah, it doesn't torque over.
Right. They've also started. I think they kind of started these frames like last week or the week before, but they're mostly done with the support frames. It looks like. One thing I noticed this week, which I just really hadn't had time to pay attention to until this week, it appears that these are actually a little bit wider now. So. I did some counting on this, and I know that there's 5 on each of these. The holes aren't there currently for some reason. They may be on the backside. It's kind of weird why we can't see the holes here, but we do know on these sides. So there was basically 66 pipes in total between the two of these, so 33 on each. So you had basically 10 on the sides, 23 in the middle, and now I'm not going to bother counting them right now. But if you feel inclined to do so yourself, there are now 25 holes here instead of 23. So it appears that, matter of fact, these down here look like the expansion. These are flat sections, right? Yeah, because you have the singles down here that make up the curved part of the ramp, and I think these are straight sections. So they're basically... you have your groups of 5, and then you have the group of 2 that goes in the middle, because it looks like it's going to be slightly wider. So Ryan might have the exact dimension, but I think they're 8-inch pipes, but I think the outer diameter is like 8 and 3/4 or something like that, or closer to 9.
Yeah, I mean, just look up like Schedule 40 pipe dimensions. I might be able to find that quick.
Yeah, so it's like the ramps are basically 1.5 feet wider. Which means that the apex is also 1.5 feet, or 1.5 feet longer. So basically, I mean, they have a space against. We can kind of just look at it really quick. Essentially, the edge of the ramp will probably be like over here instead of over here, and so these plates that go up the side will be a little bit slimmer, probably in line with this right here, if I had to guess, all the way up. So that just basically widens the bucket a little bit.
Yeah, so the pipes are 8 and 5/8 in outer diameter. So I don't know, and basically multiply that out. That gives you your overall width.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting that they decided to increase. I'm imagining this isn't the first one that they did that on. If I had to guess, I actually kind of want to go back and look at pad 39A, but I have a feeling this started with 37, with pad 37. So yeah, definitely gonna see a little bit of a change on that. We probably wouldn't notice without actually counting them. But yeah, definitely an interesting change there. I think all the Apex stuff kind of left. I know they have a bunch. Over here. But I feel like most of the components for the Apex left, like other than these. They sent them all to Florida. So, well, there was 2. They had parts for 2 of them, though. I don't know where everything else went.
So there's 2 new manifolds at the port lot. in the center. I can give you the photo if you'd like.
One other thing, Zach, I just counted the number of pipes on the 39A deflector. So the flat part has 50 pipes on it.
What?
Yeah, it has 50.
Did you? Wait, what are you talking? That would be like more than double.
Well, no, 50 pipes total. So 25 on each manifold.
Oh, so 39A is wider too then.
Yeah.
Are you sure you're looking at 39A and not 37?
Yep, because it's the photo that was released of the launch mount being lifted over the trench.
Interesting.
It's at the port lot, not the actual port. I put it in Patreon Lounge for you.
Let's see here.
Oh, wow, those things came in a lot more complete, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Darth Lawrence found those.
Oops. Okay. Well, I gotta move this over. Okay. Yeah. So these are the ones for the. I mean, this one looks about the same. I think this one, the only difference is it has this pipe installed on it now. But these were about the same level of completeness when they arrived for the other launch mount. Speaking of launch mounts, while we're here, we do have a new service structure for the launch mount that arrived. So some of you may have seen this when it came in. So this is pretty interesting. They actually have, so you know that they've been using scaffolding essentially on the launch mount to work on the clamps. And so I might as well just go look at an image of that just for a refresher. I don't often show off my the depth of my library right here.
Your file management is on point.
I know. If only I was as organized in real life, regular life. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to go back even further. Let's just go in the middle of flight 13 and 12. There we go. Kind of. That's a good enough one. That's not what I want. Clamps are closed. But yeah, you can see how the scaffolding is set up between here. And this is basically kind of the same thing. So this is the lower level of the scaffolding and this is the upper level. But the platform right here is several meters away from the center of the launch mount. So they need another platform above that so you can actually walk out onto this and walk out onto this, climb down to this level, and you basically have access to the top of the hold down clamps right here. And Chrome Kiwi somehow managed to put this together put this render together extremely fast. And I'll see if I can find it really quick.
Yeah, it was very fast. It was like, like we saw the photos and the next morning he had already posted them. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, because I was surprised when I saw it because I had when we were looking at it in my Discord server and I pointed out what it was used for, and then next thing I know, he already had a model of it. I was like, okay, that was fast. But yeah, you can see how this works. So basically, you have the airs after next to the LOX QD, and then another one in between the LOX and methane QDs. So you have a little bridge platform that you walk onto, and then there's a ladder way down here. I'm guessing. I have a feeling there's going to be stairs here, like a spiral staircase.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that side yet.
Because why is there a hole there?
Well, I think it might be to provide access to lift stuff out.
Out of there.
Because
Yeah.
if you look like from this photo here, obviously the part on the right goes on top of the piece on the left. You've got like the 10 columns that stick up. It'll bolt to it, and then the whole thing basically hangs down in the launch mount, supported by kind of this circular structure on the right with kind of the legs that poke out. I'm not really sure what the angle is on those, but this is basically what it will look like when it's outside of the launch mount. But yeah, there is definitely a ladder way that kind of goes down to the different levels. But there's also, if you go back to the real image, Zach, they have a little red crane that looks like that could actually lift stuff around. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to actually lift things up to this deck, or maybe it lifts things around on the lower deck, and then they're able to move it into a position where it's able to be pulled through that gap there on that third of the pie that's missing.
I
Maybe
don't
they're
think
able
this
to.
is a crane.
Looks
Yeah,
like a
there's
crane.
two schools
Wait,
of
hold on.
thought.
Actually, it does have a.
Well, there's two schools of thought on that. Some people think it's for moving items. Some people think it's for people to latch onto, so that if they lose their footing or whatever, or need to be pulled out of the lower sections, they can be pulled out easily because of the way that thing is mounted to that frame.
It definitely seems like it's dual purpose because there's little gates that open on each of these the holes here. You've got like an inner hole and an outer hole. Yeah, it definitely looks like that would allow you to climb down to like different levels. But I think that red crane would also double as being able to maybe lift some hardware up and down. But I'm not really sure if it's for, I guess, people, because I feel like you'd have that on both of them then, right?
Yeah. And looking at this one, but I mean, because with all this space over here, okay. Well, I mean, I guess if you want to lift something from the bottom level, but there's actually not that much space to lift things through there.
Yeah, it'd be smaller stuff. If it's bigger stuff, I think they would opt to do it a different way.
Yeah. What I'm interested to know is how they're going to handle. So we don't have a top down of this, but these walkways are going to kind of be in the way of at least one clamp, possibly two on each side. So I wonder, obviously I think the whole purpose of having this offset is that so you can have a crane lift things up and down through here, but you're not going to be able to do that in these 2 or 4 positions. So that's going to be interesting to see. But it's funny to me that it basically rests on the launch mount with basically just 3 legs. So you can see the legs right here where it'll rest on top of the launch mount. And I think that
couldn't it just be rotated one cell? I mean, as long as the ladders don't, or that the stairs don't, conflict with the booster QDs, in theory, you could lift it in any orientation you want, and that would, open up a particular cell for like the arm to be lifted in and out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could just rotate the whole thing this way. Yeah, I don't really see anything stopping that from happening.
Because I don't think they're actually going to bolt this down. I think it's just going to gravity sit, probably. I mean, bolting stuff to the launch mount surface doesn't sound like a smart idea.
At that point, I feel like it's almost easier not to even ever put it in this orientation and always have it rotated this direction, so you only have to move it 1 or 2 positions instead of swing the entire thing around. But I mean, it's clearly meant to go in this orientation, at least at some point. So yeah, pretty cool though. Nice to see more things to speed up certain processes. I was kind of hoping that we're going to be nearing the end of constant maintenance, but I mean, the hold down clamps have a pretty big job. They're taking a very, very large amount of force versus the old clamps. The only force that they really saw was just keeping the vehicles vertical on the pad. They weren't true hold down clamps. So I can see why potentially these hold down clamps would have to be swapped out more often than they had in the past, possibly. And so having to set up that scaffolding after every launch, even if they're not swapping things out every launch, even if you just need to inspect things being able to just within an hour get this up there versus spending a day or two, however long it takes to set up all that scaffolding. This saves time. So all about speed. So it's nice to see that.
Yeah, I think between launches, a majority of what they're doing right now is mainly inspection. I mean, we've seen them replace some components, but it's nowhere near the level that we saw with Pad 1, with swapping out those clamps like pretty much every single launch. They swap stuff out. So plus, it does seem like at least for right now, there's probably the requirement that they repaint some of the surfaces just to protect them. So I imagine that stand will also be used for just general painting of things as well, which in that case, it's just really quick to lift it in, have some guys paint it. They probably could paint, the whole launch mount in like a day with that stand and then lift it out, the next day.
I feel like let's just look at that really quick. I wonder if they have actually been painting these. I don't think they have yet. In between this area. Guess we'd have to wait until the clamps close to actually see the backside, but because these aren't necessarily painted.
They were, I believe
actually,
they
yeah, they
painted
are.
them between. They painted them before 12 and they painted them after 12 before 13. So I imagine that they will paint them again before 14. They just didn't repaint the hoods on the booster QDs, the back covers. Those
Right.
those were the same.
Okay. Back to Sanchez. Like I said, we're kind of all over the place today. That was Indy's fault, by the way. So over here, I don't think there's really much new going on. They do have more stands that they're working on down here that we haven't seen before. So this is a new one. No idea what that's for yet.
I think earlier in the week we did see there were some photos posted of the booster transport stand on the right was getting painted with a lighter color paint. I think people were wondering if that was going to be its final color or if they were going to go black. I didn't know if we could see any of that. I'm imagining that was just primer, and then they probably went back over it with some black paint. But I didn't know if we would see that.
No, it looks like it was already painted by the time he got up there. This is an interesting one. I just noticed what it is. It's like a 3D version of this, basically. So you have these vertical structures right here, and then the ring around the outside. Is that hollow in the middle?
Kind of looks that way, yeah. Shading gets darker as it goes down, so. But it also kind of looks like it's a smaller radius too. Like, is that actually a full 9 meters? It actually looks like it might be a little smaller.
How can you tell that?
Just the curvature of the arc there. Like if you look at the up here on the right, like those two stands, they're technically they appear to be different diameters. The one on the right looks smaller in diameter than the one on the left.
Yeah,
So
because
I
this
would say
one
that
is made for the aft ring to sit on the edge. Well, they both are technically. This one, wait, what is this one? It's the same thing, but for the ship. I think it might be. What is there? This is the diameter of the the transfer tube. This is too small to be a transfer tube diameter. I wonder if this is like a new turntable. There's like a shaft in the middle that rotates it.
maybe It's really hard to tell.
It'll be straying really far from the old design, but yeah, we'll have to keep our eyes on that, I guess. Let's see what else in Sanchez. Feel like there's probably stuff in between here. I'll have to go back and look. Yeah, so they have started building the second ship workstation over here. So they have one that's kind of complete as far as just the platform goes, and they're building a second one there. Haven't seen the ones for the booster yet. At least here, they do have them in Florida. So with these being for ships, I'm guessing this is probably for a ship as well too. Probably part of this stand, because it seems like they're trying to get 2 ship stands finished first. And then we also have 2 other platforms down here, which not really necessarily sure what these are for yet, but I have a feeling these are probably related to like a crane and the workstation.
Yeah, that one kind of looks like it's got like the 3 symmetry for like the tubes that go to each of the RVAC engines. So it could be some sort of a jig for assembly of that hardware, whether it goes in Gigabay or in the Star Factory. Not really sure.
Well, wait, is this okay? Sorry, I was just thinking. I was like, is this way too big? That's way bigger than an RVAC nozzle. um, when you're saying what part of the RVACs?
So the transfer tubes that go down, the individual ones to each of the RVAC engines, that's the
Oh yeah,
wiring.
yeah.
So, I mean, obviously it's not complete yet, but this could be some sort of like an assembly jig that, there could be like some plates in there that they would like bolt that hardware to or like rest on it. And basically similar to kind of how they have now with the stand that they use, but maybe something that's a little bit more modular for Gigabay or Star Factory.
That'd be weird because then you'd have to lift this off the top of it once it's finished. I hope we get to see what this ends up being used for. There's so many things that have been made here that we never get to actually see what they go to. We figured out quite a few of them, but I think there's still a ton that we don't know. So this one will be kind of interesting. The fact that it's square is weird to me.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it's necessarily like related to vehicle assembly. I think it's more just in the factory.
Yeah. I guess the fact that it's are they painting things? Yeah, they're painting stuff for the Gigabay white as well too, right? Well, obviously. So it could go either location, I guess. Let's see, what else do we got back here? Let me look at the larger image just so I can see everything at one time. Because I feel like we've kind of covered everything at Sanchez. Oh, there is the bridge crane stuff down here. Wow.
Yeah, they're definitely collecting a pile of parts for the new big bridge cranes, and we don't have them in this flyover, but they did seemingly offload kind of the first beam section for one of those cranes very recently. So we'll probably have photos for that on the next flyover.
Yeah, gonna be pretty cool to watch those assembled here before they actually roll them in. Actually, be able to appreciate the size a little bit more because we won't really get to see it when it rolls in. Actually, we might see them lift it since they don't have the doors on the Gigabay yet. But yeah, it'd be nice to see it fully assembled out here before it actually rolls out.
Because they will
Okay, let's
assemble it
see.
in pieces inside Gigabay. So we'll see each of the
Oh,
thirds go in, then they'll have to weld it together, and then they'll have to lift it. So it'll be a process.
oh
I'm
yeah,
not
because
sure
they
how
can't
much
build it.
of
They can't move it in there if
yeah,
it's fully completed. Dang it.
I'm not sure of how much of like say the roof they want to get done before they do that. I kind of feel like they would probably want to get pretty far with the roof, but yeah.
What is this?
These would be the doors. So it does kind of look like they're getting ready to start assembling a
them.
door. I think we're kind of hoping that it's the short doors and not the big
Is
ones.
this the top of the door? Like,
So that's
this is the
the beam that would move up and down, and then it accordions on top of that.
Yeah. And BJ says it is for the short doors, and they have the canvas and everything.
canvas already on them. Yeah, on this one. Maybe. Actually, it looks like it's just wrapped.
Yeah, I don't think the canvas is on that. There's a separate thing with the canvas that's also wrapped.
You know, these are the shorter doors.
Yeah. BJ says shorter doors.
Well, hopefully they don't finish those anytime soon, so we'll actually be able to see when they do the bridge crane. Let's see. I don't think there's anything else at Sanchez. Do we have questions from Sanchez, though?
No questions from Sanchez. Oh, we have one. Sorry. Boss Venom is wondering, do you think that they will place a structure for maintenance of the launch mount with the chopsticks? So when you were looking at the one at the port?
Well,
I'm going to guess
everybody
no.
always wants the chopsticks to lift stuff.
I mean,
yeah,
they're just being that they're shorter. I feel like it's just more difficult to try and use that than it would be just to use a crane. But
the chopsticks don't go that low. I mean, so I guess you'd be suspending it from the chopsticks using cables or something like that. I can't see that.
yeah, I mean, you probably could, but you also have to balance the weight and make sure that there's a lot of adjustment that you have to do that kind of requires maybe a little bit more manual intervention. So I'm not sure if it's as easy as just kind of hooking it up. But I guess we'll see, because I mean, this thing is pretty. It does seem like it's really well put together. Like they just have to like bolt the top and the bottom together, and then maybe it's usable. So, I mean, we might.
It looks to me like it's made to be lifted with a crane, one crane, because you see I think these are the lift points right here.
Yeah,
So that's one load spreader.
because that would be the thing. I mean, then you have to have taglines, because if it's lifting from one point, if you're using the chopsticks, you still have, you have to make sure you rotate the indexing right, and there's just a lot more involved with the chopsticks. I mean, they're very purpose built and they're adjustable, but I don't know, that seems like a little much for this.
Ryan, do you think these look more like attachment points for those taglines than to actually lift it, right?
Well, they'd be on the top. I don't know how you'd get the tagline. I'd imagine the tagline would be on the outer part, not the top. To me, that seems like the spot you'd lift from.
Small.
Well, it's not that heavy. I mean, look at that whole part is being suspended by those 10 poles. So, I mean, comparatively speaking, it's a pretty lightweight structure.
Yeah. Cool.
Got another question for you. Junar's wondering, could it be a workstation to assemble transfer tubes in the Gigabay when you were looking at the white pieces in Sanchez?
Oh, actually, so hold on, let me get to it. I'm lost. Wow. Okay, there we go.
There you go.
I mean, it's not impossible. Like it could be. Because right now they roll it out and then they lift it vertical, and then they drop it in through the top. I suppose it's possible they could. Nah, I was gonna say it's possible they could start have it vertical and then lower the vehicle on top, lower the tank section on top. But I think it has to go in the opposite direction because of the way it sits on the dome. So I
Yeah,
don't
with
think
the
you can
current
reverse
construction method, they basically drop it in through the top of the LOX tank, and there's kind of like an overlap that fits on the dome that they then weld.
Yeah.
But I don't think those squares are related to maybe vehicle construction. I mean, because anything that's related to the vehicle construction, they're typically circular. That way they can kind of like sleeve the vehicle over it temporarily, like we've seen them do, with like the ship and the booster, various components. They've got like the assembly jigs that allow the vehicle to be lifted, partially assembled over the top of the stand that might already have hardware mounted to it waiting. Given that these are square, I don't think that they're involved with that. I would imagine they'd be circular, which is why I think they're maybe more geared toward either like a specialized work cell in Gigabay, or there's something for the factory.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And then we want to thank Hagurama Kurama Crafts for their $10 donation. And they said thanks for the Zen views. And we want to thank Martin for his 10-pound donation. Thank you both so much for your generosity. And that's it for the questions and donations.
What's that? Crane?
Looks like they're covering it in trash bags.
That is strange.
It's definitely something related to, I think, the cladding assembly. Maybe they're are they going to go on a hiatus and they want to protect their equipment from the
I
the
guess,
air?
yeah. It does make sense because it might be a while until they finish cladding from where they are. Matter of fact, we might as well go over there right now. We'll get there second, actually. Last week we didn't see this move back here, but now we can see it. Or wait. Yeah, this was moved last week, right?
I'll be honest, I've lost track.
Yeah, me too.
I can't remember if it was here last week or not.
The 6th that rolled out, I think.
Okay. So yeah, not sure what they're doing to it over here, but there it is. The cryo stand, wait, this is a static fire stand, is getting worked on right now. Not entirely sure what they're doing, but they have added these new pipes onto the side. So these appear to be, so I think, hold on, where am I? Get my bearings right here. I can't tell if this is the front.
So that would be the side, because I think you've got the squares that are poking out would be where the flaps are. So yeah,
right here.
Yeah, that would be where a flap
Yeah,
is.
so these connect to the let's see.
Basically the RCS or the dump that's underneath the flaps.
Yeah, I was gonna pull up an image of the ship when it was on the launch mount, but I don't really want to look at that thing actually. So, but yeah, this basically collects that Raptor chill venting basically, which is strange because I thought that that's what this whole manifold is for, and I don't think this is. I'm no longer sure what this manifold is for. It seems to be maybe this is the replacement for that, but this pipe seems to go down and connect to this, which is weird. Not entirely sure what they're doing with that.
There's seemingly a bunch of ports on that kind of octagon shape that kind of aim inward. You can kind of see them more, I guess, on the opposite side of the circle, but it seems like there's a bunch of little tap-offs that are part of that. You can kind of see them there. There's a couple of connections there on the top side. Kind of tap into
this is the one we thought was the purge.
So yeah, it could be something related to a purge system, and those are just little tap-offs that allow them to direct stuff where they want it, but it is a little strange.
Yeah, I wonder whatever these are.
Because you can see the pairs of lines running basically past each of the clamping locations, and they kind of do some weird jogs once they're inside of there. think you can most
These?
notably see it on the top one. Yeah, if you look at the opposite side, on the left side of the clamp, you can see them right there.
Yeah, that looks like I was actually hoping we were going to see that during the like in one of the videos from a static fire test, but it almost seems like it's made for spin primes, or I don't know, helping if there's a fire, dumping a bunch of nitrogen if there's a fire. Because we haven't seen it actually used yet. But these, I imagine there's probably going to have to be something on the added to the test stand for this. Oh,
Yeah, I have
look,
no
there's
idea.
something tabs on the bottom of this, like it's gonna.
Well, I think that's how it's mounted. There's like little arms that stick out, and then it's
Oh,
kind of
yeah, it's just.
bolted. Yeah.
Okay. Are they doing anything for that? Actually, we already looked. They weren't adding anything. Well, maybe there's some pipes nearby. Let's just check that really quick.
Wouldn't it already exist, though, whatever that connects to? Because all they did was make that pipe bigger.
I'd have to go back and look at it, what it looked like originally. But no, I was looking. Oh, sorry. I was trying to see if there was some pipes laid out over here.
Yeah, the orientation, I mean, if they put it in the right direction, it would kind of have that large pipe with those kind of tap offs going, toward the tank farm. But if it's, I would imagine it would be like a flex line, if anything. But because it seems like there's maybe two ports on that stand that could be going to tank farm or control bunker potentially.
Oh, come on. This is ridiculous. I feel like these are, I mean, surely not. These are about the same size.
If you go back to that photo of the stand, I think that those connections were at an angle. So that would imply that those hard lines would point up. Yeah, it
Which would be
doesn't
crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll have to see what they end up doing with that.
I haven't seen enough photos to actually see like what is, piped into that. And because to me it almost looks like a little bit like a makeshift like holding tank of sorts.
Yeah, like so like you're kind of separating liquid from vapor essentially.
Yeah, I mean, like, with the ports kind of angled up, it kind of seems to me like maybe you could put like valves on that, and that could be like a holding tank, and then like let it boil off or something. Like, I don't know if it would necessarily be hooked into the tank farm, but it's just kind of weird. I'd like to see some ground shots of that.
Yeah, definitely. Need it to roll by a camera one day.
Because I can't remember if that's on the other side as well, or only on one side of the stand.
Yes. Oh,
I don't think we
there
have
should be a.
Because there was a photo you were on earlier that almost looked like you could see the flange end poking out on that opposite side.
Dang it. Let's see. About this one.
Yeah, try that one.
Oh man.
Wait, that one zoomed out a little further. Is that?
There we go.
Yep. So there is two.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see what that ends up being about.
It's
Is
interesting.
this the new one or the old one? Sorry, go ahead.
Given its cleanliness, that's the new one, I think.
Was the old one dirty?
Well, I don't think there's extra hardware on the back side of it. I think that one only has the doors on it, right? So that one's not complete, I don't think.
Oh, yeah.
Because they moved
It's missing
one
the
back in the
front.
factory, I believe. I think the original one, I I shouldn't say the original one because they've had several, but the one they use for 39 and 40, I think, is in the factory.
Wait, isn't that one the same that they've always had?
No, that's technically version 2 of the loader. The first one they scrapped.
I don't remember that actually.
The first one that they built back in like 2022 that hung around for a long time. We thought it was like a big dumpster originally. That one got scrapped. They used that one on like the version 1 and 2 ships, I think. Don't quote me on version 2.
Okay.
Actually, I don't think they used it at all on those. They might have done a test fit with one of the new ones, but I think those are all loaded with the tray.
Yeah, surprised I forgot that. There's some stuff in the front of here that I wanted to look at really quick.
Maybe also mention that the hardware for breakover of like boosters is kind of sitting over in that corner too now. They moved it out of the area. So I'm not sure. I don't think that necessarily means that they are going to do that test anytime soon, because I don't think they physically can with Mega Bay 2 and or Mega Bay 1. But it's probably just getting it out of the way so it doesn't get buried, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like they can only do it with Mega Bay 2. I think this space is probably long enough for a booster, but not in this direction.
Yeah, that's kind of my opinion too.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is not enough space, though. That would suck if it's like short by like 5 meters or something like that.
Well, keep in mind it would actually go back into like it would take up the
partially into here. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's gonna be really weird to see that process happen. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to see it, but hopefully, maybe SpaceX will release some video at some point.
There's no way they won't. Well, at least I would like to believe that. I hope that's the case. So going over to the Gigabay, did notice that there are some. Okay, I don't like looking at it straight on like that. Some changes between this one and the one in Florida, which is interesting and kind of strange at the same time. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I thought they took down the supporting. They didn't. So this is actually funny to me because of this fact. So in Florida, I think the penthouse is well, they're both rectangles. Like it doesn't cover the middle of the floor over here, so I think it just goes around the perimeter. I want to say it's probably like this wide all the way around. PJ would probably know this better than me. I think it overhangs this station right here. But this one, it appears that it's going all the way across, so the floor will cover the entire roof, which makes way more sense to me. The only thing I think they should do is, instead of putting these panels, they should put glass floors, but that's just me. But we can see that floor right here that they're laying down the corrugated panels for right here. So there may be a gap right here. Oh, actually, no, we can see the floor beams right there. So yeah, they're doing this level at the same time as they're doing the roof, essentially. The cool thing is you can kind of see something that I've been wondering for a while, how they're going to get the cranes back down, if they would need another crane on the outside of the building to do it. But you can see that they've left this gap right here. And so that's just wide enough for the crane to descend down through it, I think. It's weird because so normally when they when they raise the crane, I want to say this is flat when they do it. I gotta go back and look at that. Or is it straight up in the air?
Well, it would probably whatever orientation balances the forces on the because you wouldn't want a torque to be when you're trying to, move that up a section. So however they managed to do that, I don't know if they, to be honest, I know nothing about these cranes, whether they have counterweights like attached to the back that they drop off as, loads change or boom moves to different
The
positions.
counterweights
I have no idea.
They move along this rail.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess however they balance those forces, if they can pull those in and then put the boom straight up, then that might be optimal.
Lower it down through there.
Because I mean, whatever that one on the left, I mean, it's building itself into the corner more so than the one on the right. So it looks like they're leaving a little bit of a gap, but it's not as big as the one over there on the right, I don't think. I think that the one on the left has one more beam place.
I cannot see from that angle.
Yeah, it's a little trippy.
Oh.
It'd be the
Okay,
beam just to the right of your cursor. There's like a gusset plate that I think that has the final beam. Your cursor was kind of right on it. Nope, that's the lower level. Yeah, that one. I think that's the top beam closest to that crane. So that kind of rectangle that they're making there would, be the. Yeah.
That's way smaller.
Yeah.
This is crazy to look at from, it's like I can't even, it's making me dizzy. That's a good one. Never mind. I take that back. It's not. But yeah, either way, definitely making some really good progress on this. It feels like they're, I want to say it feels like they're speeding up a little bit, but I mean, really, they've probably been working at the same rate this entire time. They still do have a few more trusses to put across, obviously. But yeah, making some really good progress. And I do think I think they kept going around on the front with panels after this. So I think it's maybe up to here now. I'm not sure. I'd have to go look at the live streams. But it's coming along. And over on the Star Factory side,
they have not made that or it back to the front yet. They're still working on the Star Factory side.
I think this is the only image right here that shows it. So they, the little parapet wall that went across the top here, they've removed this part already, and now they're working on removing this one. So I imagine, never mind. I was going to say they might start that soon, but they probably won't until this entire side is clad. Maybe even till the entire building is complete on the outside, because they still need to get around it with this crane right here. So I think we might not see it until it's actually fully completed. But they're preparing for it. Moving on to the village. I know everybody wants to see this. I don't really know what to say about it. The rocket garden is still taking shape. We still don't know what the layout of this is going to look like. But yeah, they're making progress for sure. What is this?
It's definitely going to have kind of a mirrored, layout to it. So I'm still thinking that they probably want to put their first cot booster and ship here and kind of have them on display, like one on each side.
Yeah, I wonder if they if like, well, obviously we know that ship 40 is probably not. We actually don't know the status of that. Elon said that it wasn't looking good as far as recovery goes. But I do wonder. I mean, I still don't think there was any chance that it would come all the way back to Starbase. But it would be interesting if they did attempt something like that. And then that'd be cool to put that ship of any here. Would be a nice little display.
Yeah, I still don't like that. The first ship to splash down in the water and survive not exploding. I don't know. I'd rather have the first caught ship on display versus that. I mean, it's getting beat up in the water. I'm not sure if you saw the SpaceX images, but I mean, if they were to put that on display, like, it would need a lot of worked in order to get the tiles back to be presentable. I guess that's a good photo too of the under the flaps for the Raptor Chill or RCS there.
Oh, come on. Wow. Oh, wow. I didn't realize there was that many of them.
Yep.
Actually, I did. I knew there was that many pipes. I didn't realize that the holes were like this. That's interesting, though. There's probably like an interface plate that goes over this whole thing.
I think that circle one is for the Raptor Chill, maybe. The smaller one, I should say. Not the angled ones, but the one above your cursor.
But I mean, but there's two. There's one for methane as well. So I think it's possible that two of them are for methane and this one's for. If I had to guess, I would say methane, LOX, drain. Then I don't know what this one would be. Because they don't have the drains are in this location. So I think the big one's a drain. It's a really awesome image. Yeah, so we might talk about the ship a little bit more. Honestly, I've literally been paying zero attention to what's been going on with the ship because I'm very, very busy doing other things right now. But if we do have time to talk about that at the end of the show, we may get back onto that subject. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and move us over to the launch site unless there's any questions, which I highly doubt for the Giga
There's
Bay.
2 questions for the build site, actually.
Okay, well, I was wrong.
First question is from Nate the Great. They're wondering, when do you think Giga Bay will be operational?
I mean, it'll be partially operational probably within the next 2 months, I would say, like after that crane gets in there, because again, it really depends on whether or not they're able to break over the booster using Omega Bay 2. That's a big thing for them right now, is to be able to get a booster and ship out to Florida. So if that can't be done in Omega Bay, then it will have to be done in that building. So as soon as the crane is operational, we'll probably see them start using it. Sorry, I just saw somebody from Tinindpa in the chat says, I don't think you want to vent LOX and methane on the same side. Well, they've been doing that forever. That's why it blew up that one time.
And then there's one more question.
Was there a second question?
Yeah, from All for One. They're wondering, any evidence Giga Bay is ready for electrical roughen? That's going to take 2 weeks at least.
I imagine they're already doing that.
Yeah,
because they started the all the plumbing doesn't go up this high. It's down below this level. Wait, it should come up.
I mean, they've
Does it
been
not go through the floor?
progressively adding in, conduit and whatnot as they've gone up,
Oh,
pouring concrete.
Hold on. Just look for it.
Now, as far as wiring goes, they might not have pulled any wire yet.
I mean, we don't even know where to look for that stuff. Like, it could be anywhere. I imagine they would be in the back side of these, though, under here, instead of on the
Yeah,
sides.
I feel like it'd be in the corners of the cells, probably where a lot of the wiring would go, the junction boxes and stuff.
Yeah. Do you think they'll have lighting on each level?
That would be amazing.
You'd probably need to, unless you're going to just rely on lighting from the ceiling bouncing down off of all the white surfaces. It would probably get pretty dark toward the bottom. So you'd probably need to have some supplemental lighting. I mean, look at what they have done in Mega Bay 2, they've got lighting on the walls.
Yeah, good point. Like around
And
the
even the
edges.
test stand at Rocket Lab. Not Rocket Lab. Sorry. At
Massey's?
Massey's. That's what I was trying to say.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they have that test stand that has lights on it.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, but I can't see anything in there right now, so maybe they haven't really started that yet. Surprisingly. Cool.
And
Was
then
that the
real
only other
quick,
question?
Yep,
Okay.
we just want to thank Stephen K for their $20 donation. That's 55 Chevy Guy Steve. Thank you so much for your $20 donation. And then we also want to thank Sharpie for his one gifted membership. Thank you both so much for your generosity.
Awesome. We don't have Alex with us today, so I'm not going to spend too much time on the ASU, but they are making some progress with the cooling tower or whatever. So they started to put up this frame over the chillers, I think these are. And so the cooling tower will probably go on top of all of this. I'm sure they've made a lot more progress since this was taken. But yeah, finally starting to see that come together because it's kind of been sitting, just basically sitting there in the same state for several weeks at this point. I thought they moved the other control bunker over here, but I'm guessing that's actually in the tank farm somewhere. Is it over here? Nope. Well, I guess since we're over here, they do appear to be breaking up the concrete in this area. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing here. I kind of wonder if they're expanding the offload station for some reason. Well, not for some reason. It makes sense why you would want to do that, because if you can increase it even by 5 spaces, that just speeds up the process of offloading or topping off the tanks. So yeah, breaking out this right here. I initially thought maybe they would do a ramp up here, but it doesn't necessarily make sense since I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be at that entrance, supposed to be at the roundabout, I think.
Yeah, I mean the ramp was there actually, which they haven't started jackhammering that portion, but there is a ramp right, below where your cursor was that made the
This one.
elevation change.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. You can actually see it on the wall. There's the wall makes a triangle
Yeah.
there. So that area has always had an elevation change. So I'm guessing they're wanting to delete that and possibly extend that all the way through that whole area because they've been slowly digging out and removing the dirt from that little area that used to have all the power transformers on it, where the bunker, well, I guess the old electronics bunker was. So it kind of seems like that whole area is going to get completely, gutted and flat.
Yeah. I do wonder if it's going to make the roundabout like a partial roundabout because I imagine if they shouldn't really need to use this for vehicle entry.
No, the one on the roundabout was supposed to be for boosters and ships going to Pad 1.
But why? Why even go all the way? Why do that when they could just enter through the other side?
I mean, they
Through the
could, but then you
D1
have to
entrance?
navigate along everything. So I'm not sure that was the intended path for vehicles eventually. They might use it, but
Yeah, because they could just enter in the same way and come all the way across instead of you just get it off the road faster, basically.
it probably depends
All over here.
on how they configure the stuff. Because, like, for example, if they build, like a blast wall around the tanks there might not actually be enough room between the end of the trench and where the blast wall would be to actually get SPMT and vehicle through there.
Through
Which,
here.
yeah, that still just I don't like how close all that stuff is, but it is what it is for now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as far as ease of moving it into here, this path might be better because you could come straight in versus I don't even know how you do it in this direction if you come this way and then go straight in like that. Yeah, I don't like the orientation of this pad at all. We're with this here. I feel like it's just in the way of everything. Yeah, so they did bring in 2 new, I think 1 tank at least, for over here. Forgot these were liquid nitrogen is what we were expecting these to be. Still haven't hooked up these other 2 methane tanks. Kind of hoping they never do. But they also buried that conduit line, and I guess it's not going to be exposed like all of us were thinking. Was it last week or the week before? Whenever I said that. But yeah, do think they'll probably maybe pour the concrete first. I guess it depends if they're going to use SPMTs to get it in here or if they're going to lift it using the crane. But since Marvin, where's Marvin right now? I know he moved. So Marvin's right here, finally back up and running. So I suspect they may potentially lift those over here without even pouring the concrete because they can pour the concrete underneath it once it's in place. But yeah, I think with Marvin here, they don't need to use SPMTs anymore to lift that tank in here. They can just lift it with the crane. So it'll be interesting to see if they end up doing that or not. But yeah, so 2 more tanks there, and then they have the pads for I think 4 more right here. So there have been 3 to arrive, still waiting for 3 more at this point, plus 2 for Massey's. And then hopefully as soon as those get here, these ones will disappear. We'll have to wait and see on that. That's kind of all for, Ryan, do you want to explain this? Because I didn't even understand what you were talking about this morning when you started explaining it.
Yeah, so they cut a hole in this wall a couple weeks ago. It roughly lines up with one of the most recent site plans that they had published for the launch site, which involves moving where tankers would offload. So instead of offloading where they have been, where they kind of back in kind of perpendicular off the highway and then leave over in this area, it seems like now they want to transition to kind of a pull-through design, which would essentially consist of like an entrance and an exit. The tankers would pull in through the new hole that they put over here to the right, and then they would drive on kind of the inside of the launch site wall, and then be able to back in potentially kind of diagonally. And so they would be kind of like parallel parking a bunch of tankers and offload stations here along this rack, and that would
sounds
allow
really
other tankers.
stupid.
I share similar opinions.
You're not going to get any argument from any of us.
But it kind of seems like that's what they're going towards, and that's what the site plan shows. And obviously, they're cutting a hole in the wall, and there doesn't seem to be any other purpose for that hole in that wall to be there unless that's what they were going for.
Okay, I guess I can think of one. I can think of one way it's not stupid. So if you have a line of these stations, like let's say 2 rows of them, like a gas station, then whatever the first truck to pull in has to go all the way to the front. So he's obviously going to finish before anybody behind him. So they'll basically leave all at the same time. So you basically have, I don't know, probably 5 trucks that can fit there at a time. Then all 5 leave, and then the next 5 pull in type thing.
Keep in mind, if they go diagonally, they can fit a lot more than if they were doing parallel. So I said parallel, but more or less think of it like parking lots that have like the angled slots. They would basically do that. They'd try and basically where all of that machinery currently is would kind of be like where they would park diagonally. You'd pull in, basically hug toward close to the wall here. And then you'd basically pull forward enough to where there's an opening to back into. Then they would back into that opening at an angle that would allow other tankers to
huge,
continue pulling
like this
through.
type of angle.
Yeah. I know it's not a lot of room, but it's what they're doing.
Well, it only has to be there for a little while, because they are. They'll have the ASU at some point. They haven't started removing these fill stations yet, right? So
it'd be a lot better if
obviously
that rack was moved back. But
Yeah.
Back towards the tanks or back away from the
yeah,
tanks?
yeah, toward the tanks. If they basically had put that rack up on top of where the little wall is at, that would have given them a lot more room. And in theory,
Right.
technically, the tankers can maybe back underneath that because there are gaps between those. I guess the cells or the legs of the pipe stands. But yeah, it's not a lot of room.
Yeah, I wonder why they didn't. Well, I mean, they couldn't before. I guess it makes sense why they didn't do that. That'd be wild if they end up shifting this whole thing back. I could totally see that happening, but probably not anytime soon because we did see them start to hook up these two tanks this week. Wait, sorry, these were these hooked up for Flight 13? No, because we just saw them lift these flex hoses the other day. I'm pretty sure. I thought these were active for. No, these were active for Flight 13. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I remember there being something over there that was hooked up, but I can't remember which ones it was.
Yeah.
I guess in regards to that whole, I guess, rack being moved, it is a little interesting that all the little, I guess I don't want to call them the skids necessarily, but the pipework that does exist there does look like it's, there's a significant amount already. I'm wondering if they could,
just run it all the way from on here instead of
yeah,
transferring it to that.
yeah. I mean, they could just add in an extra section on top of that when they're ready with truss work, and then just move those pipes over. Because it only looks like they're using a couple of the pipes. I mean, at least for those tanks, there's not a lot of. I mean, you could almost just put them on top there. I mean, obviously, if there's a structure added, but
Yeah, this is kind of confusing me here. So does it go down and then back up? I haven't looked at that in quite a while. I probably won't be looking at it today either, it looks like. Here we go. And I think this might be the return. I'm not sure. Yeah, I could look at the tank farm for hours. We'll move on though. Plus, I want to have to get an angry message from Alex later if he's listening, saying that whatever I'm saying makes no sense. So we'll move on to a different topic and go over, I guess, to the Pad 1 area. So lots of action over here right now. They have obviously finished the lots of different words for it: blinding layer, working layer. I think there's a rat layer or something like that. That's what BJ calls it. I think they finished all of that. Rat slab, I think he says. Oh wait, it looks like they still have this part left. I'm pretty sure I saw them pouring that over the last few days. Possibly. But yeah, they're down here. They're busy breaking out. Oh wait, is this done? I don't think they've done this either. Can't tell. Is
that part might not be done. It does look really.
It's hard to tell. I think it is done. Yeah, it looks like it is.
Yeah.
So they just need to do this right here then. In the meantime, they're sitting down. They're breaking out all of the concrete from around the pilings, which seems like a fun job down here, just using jackhammers, busting them out. It's got to be super annoying getting all this stuff out of here. You can see this guy using, I don't know what you call these. I'm guessing it's like a little tiny dump truck.
It's like a little, it's like a skid steer, but like instead of sitting in
Yeah.
it, you stand on the back.
I'm sure there's I wanted to call it a skid steer, but I didn't know if that was the right name for it. I'm sure somebody in the chat will tell us what the correct name is for that one. Yeah, so lots of progress there. They've also poured concrete on 2 levels of the bunker. They still have to do the bottom level, I think. Wait. Yeah, still have to do this bottom level right here. But making good progress on that. Like I said last week, this is probably the longest lead time item on the whole out of everything, because there's just a ton of stuff that's inside of there, and everything else is going to go together really fast compared to this, because of just the way they're doing all this pre-assembly. So we did already see in previous weeks that they had finished these 6 wall sections, and now it looks like they've even started on the sloped sections of the trench, which is pretty crazy. I guess probably should have saw that coming, but you can see them laid down right here. It's gonna be interesting because they're gonna have to flip it over. So I think you can weld. Oh, that's got to be really annoying. So I think you have to weld both sides of it. So I'm guessing they have to crawl in there and do the seams, and
So
then
they'd be
flip it
doing
over and do this
Yeah, the outside on this half, and they'd be doing the inside on the bottom, and then flip it over and repeat.
Yeah. Pretty cool to see them actually up here welding right now. You know what? I wonder if they're going to. And wait, what is that?
Yeah, I was looking at that too. Is that a port or is that just like a duct tape or something?
I think it's that could be where. No, I was gonna say it could be where the sump return comes out, but I don't. I think it's much further back on the wall, because this part right here is virtually unprotected. This is a exposed part on the wall, so I don't think it would actually pass through there. Although we don't know which side this is. This could be the outside wall. This is the inside wall down here. Not sure. But pretty cool to see that. It looks like they're going to obviously keep going at least one more level, it seems.
I'm going to guess that's the inside wall, because I think those walls have the black coating on the earth-facing side.
Yeah, on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
So it looks like okay, that's what this is right here. They've started another one.
Yeah.
So are they tack welding it down onto this, or are they just no? Right, they're just playing it on top of these little pads right here.
Yeah, they probably shimmed all those pads, so when they lower it down, everything is level, and then they just tack weld them together, and then obviously lay down their beads to weld it.
It doesn't look very convenient for flipping this. Because
yeah, I was wondering how they would do that.
Once you flip it, you can't do that. Like, yeah, you'd have to. Okay. Man, that would suck. So there's a possibility that so these welds are like V-shaped chamfers on the side. So even though you do weld both sides, the deeper weld could be on the front right here, and the same thing on this one. So it may be intentionally made to have the bigger weld, the deeper weld on this side on both panels. And so when they actually install it in the trench, all they'll have to do is go back and do the quick weld on the back side. But I imagine, that would kind of defeat. Oh, okay. So I think maybe they'll just finish doing this and then just stand it up. Yeah. That probably makes more sense. Do we see any other pads laid out for them to do the rest of this? Because there's quite a bit more wall sections that have come into. So there should be 4 of these in total. and I'm guessing contained within these piles right here are all four.
Yeah, they've got, if you go down, there's more of the kind of the end triangular pieces.
Where do these ones go? This is for something else. This is for like a different part of the wall. That's confusing because none of these pieces are shaped like that.
Oh, yeah, they are. That one your cursor's on.
What?
Um,
This?
wait, no, not that one. I didn't see that little piece at the bottom. Yeah, that is interesting.
Maybe it looks like this, but I mean, seems like it's welded right here. That's probably what it is. There's the weld line right there.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I was right. That is the piece.
Yeah. So it's this, just this one or this one too? Just that one?
I mean, it could be both. I mean, technically, you've got so there's 2 already there, and then you've got 4 over there. So I mean, however you you do the math, you need plus or minus a couple more.
Dang, and there's another one over here.
They do have a little bit of a difference, though. The one end is taller or shorter. It does look like.
You talking about over here? Like
Um,
this end is taller?
so on the ones that you
Oh,
had your
these, you're talking
cursor
about
on,
these?
yeah. So the smaller end, yeah. So that one is a different length than, say, the one to the right, or I guess kitty corner, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, it does look like it. Okay.
So I mean, they've got a lot of different pieces. They go certain places.
Yeah. All right. Enough Tetris, I guess. They're they don't seem to be making as much progress with the Oh, actually, no, they are. So it looks like they have at least 3 of these partially assembled. Guessing this one's done since it's on the ground. Pretty cool, all the simultaneous operations they have going on down there.
Yeah, it makes it a lot more clear why they wanted to get their land, because they're definitely using a large majority of it for staged construction.
Yeah, I mean, having this extra land probably speeds up the entire construction process by several months. So that was a pretty clutch timing on that. What's going on down here? Oh, just more panels. I think, are these part of the bunker? Thought it was. Yeah, you do have the supports that go in later.
I'm guessing those are out of the way while they, maybe fill out the interior with skids and whatever
Yeah.
else.
I don't think there's really much to talk about in this area. Not really doing anything. Oh, is that the old QD arm?
No, they had a
Is
bunch
it the new
of
one?
tube sections over here, and we think that it's the end supports for the chopsticks, because they added, when they cut the arm
Oh, yeah.
shorter, they then added some bracing back at the very end of the arm.
Yeah, that makes sense. So probably planning to maybe start working on these again soon. Actually, it looks like they already are. Yeah, they got a lot going on. And on the other side of the tower, they've started the basement, or what? Sorry, drawworks. What are you gonna call it? Drawworks platform. So getting all that framing up right now. I was actually thinking they might wait until later to do it, but I guess getting it back up kind of helps them out, because the sooner they get the drawworks in there, the sooner they can move the chopsticks up out of the way whenever they need to do that. and just in general getting power back to the chopsticks. Um, yeah, so good progress on that. And like we said last week, they only really need to do the side. All the other sides are already steel plated.
Maybe another thing to go with that too is we were having some discussions about where the drawworks might actually go. Because if you remember, like on pad 2, they actually flipped where the drawworks is at. It's actually on the left side compared to being on the right with pad 1. And we were maybe wondering if they were going to flip it to being on the left side when they redo this tower. But of course, there's issues that there's the staircase on the outside there, which technically you probably could remove, but then you don't have a staircase. So, but it does look like if you look at the beams, there's maybe some hints on what's going on as far as the weight distribution goes. And they're on the left side, they've got kind of evenly spaced beams. You can kind of see that the little gusset plates on that kind of inner beam. Yeah, right where your cursor's at, they're kind of evenly spaced. The beam, though, for the right half is actually on the ground, and we can see that the spacing is a little bit different, which kind of implies maybe more point loads. The other beam, the shorter one. So it kind of implies there's maybe some point loads in places which would kind of align with where the drawworks would potentially sit. So it does look like the
Wait, but
drawworks is going to go.
this is the same as this one?
No, it's a different.
Oh,
Well,
okay,
it's
so
the same beam, but a
1,
different
2,
gusset
3,
layout.
4, 5, 6.
If you
I
zoom
see
in
what you
more,
mean.
you can see them, but they're different spacing altogether. So that's
Okay.
the key thing. So that beam would go in the orientation it's currently sitting, just up above the
Against the
doorway,
wall.
obviously. Yeah. So, but that kind of implies the drawworks is going to sit on that side still.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But of course, there's other other things with that as well, because that might be an indication on whether this pad is built for version 3 or version 4, because of how the cable was routed up below where the SQD arm is at, because it's technically like on the outside of the tower, and then it dives inside of the tower with some pulleys, and then goes up to the top. Depending on where that pulley is at, that kind of dictates where the SQD arm can be. And as we know, if this pad is set up for version 3, they actually have to drop the SQD arm down like one tower unit, but the pulley would actually conflict with that. So they'd either have to move the pulley down one unit or put everything back the way that it was, and then this tower is for version 4 from the beginning.
I mean, that would make sense because by the time it becomes operational, the Gigabay will be operational as well, probably.
That's kind of my opinion. Yeah, I tend to think that this might be set up for version 4. Or, well, maybe to clarify, there's a difference between like version 4, like the whole vehicle, or like what SpaceX did with like version 2, where there was more or less a version 1 booster with a version 2 ship on it. They may do something similar where they have a version 4 booster, but a version 3 ship on top of it. So they can go ahead and stretch the booster and then fly, with the version 3 ship if they really wanted to.
What do you think is more important, the version 4 booster or the version 4 ship? Can you have one without the other, or can you even have can you have a version 4 ship? Because that one more than likely will probably be the first with 9 engines, right?
It'd be 9 engines. The tank would be stretched. I think what you're asking about is maybe the dependency tree associated with that. What we talked about in show and tell, or the point I was making was that if you have a version 4 booster, you have a slightly longer booster, more propellant. That gives you a little bit more performance in order to get the ship out over the Gulf. But if you're still flying a version 3 ship, there's some benefits with that. But if you go with a version 4 ship, obviously there's the changes associated with that. You've got 9 engines, you've got extended tanks and whatever else. But there may be some limitations on booster performance at that point in time. Like if the engines aren't mature enough to be running at a higher thrust level, you might have issues, trying to do that. So they might be able to kind of do a little bit of a mix to use a version 4 booster with a lighter weight ship and see how that performs, and then do a full switch over later. There's really no reason, because the difference is the height of the booster where the SQD arm goes. You can put any ship on top of the booster at that point, because the arm doesn't actually change locations. So
Right.
basically, the decision point is whether or not it's a version 4 booster used with this pad. That's what it kind of culminates to.
I have a feeling that going from version 3 to version 4 with the booster is probably going to be faster than doing it with the ship. Like, they could probably theoretically do it right now.
If it
If they
weren't
had
for
the space for it,
the
because you're just like
Yeah, if it
a
weren't for the
taller.
vertical headroom limitations that they have with Mega Bay 1, they could probably do a version 4 booster right now. We're not aware of any design changes with version 4 boosters other than just the tanks being slightly stretched.
Yeah. So whereas with the ship, that's a completely new ship. Version 4 booster is like technically it could be like a 3.5 because it's really the same thing, just slightly taller versus the ship that's legitimately a completely new ship. So yeah, probably see version 4 boosters way before the ships then in that case. Let's see, what else do we got down here? They are working on the roof. Not all that exciting. We've seen that before. But they are finishing up on that. We'll probably I don't think we'll see that anytime soon installed because their crane's busy doing other stuff. Although Marvin is back, nowhere near configured in a way to be doing roof work like that, though, so probably won't see that. If anything, Marvin's now going to be able to help out on pad 2, but it's here for a reason. Is this just where they assembled it at? Yeah, no, that's just where they assembled it at. Did it move since this flyover? Do you know?
I have no idea. I'm not sure if it's in tank lifting configuration. I'm going to guess maybe no,
I'm pretty
but
sure it is.
is it? I mean, I would imagine that's probably the first job that they do with it, would just to prove out that it's back and functioning properly. They might lift some tanks into the tank farm, and then from there they'll reconfigure it for whatever job is needed next.
I mean, what's the dry mass of one of these tanks? I mean, imagine. I feel like using body load alone, it could probably do that. I'm not a crane person though, so we have a crane person in the chat. Crane man, let me ask you the question for once. Is he in the chat?
He was.
Well, crane man, tell us if Marvin can lift these tanks in its current configuration. In the meantime, we'll go over to pad 2. Let's see. Not a ton going on back here. They are making some modifications somewhere. Not entirely sure where though. They've gotten some. There's like always a lot of stuff being stored out here right now, and like new pipe sections and stuff like that. So they're making modifications somewhere. I just haven't been able to find it. So something's happening back here. Kind of been hoping that they expand this and decide that they want more power, but haven't seen that yet. In the meantime, a big job that they're doing right now, which may or may not come into play for Flight 14, is they're installing all of these pipes into the tower. This is basically the new LOX drain, which is pretty funny, honestly, because like I remember when they were building this tower, Alex and I both thought that they already had. Okay, let me correct myself. I thought they already had it. Alex probably counted and knew they didn't. So I, from the very beginning, was expecting that this LOX drain would not be here. So I was kind of surprised to see it when they installed it. But they need to basically run this line that is connected to that LOX drain all the way down to the bottom of the tower, obviously, so it can connect to. It's not a good view. So it can connect to this new pipe that is down here that they ran in the trench a few months ago. I just hate looking at this so much. The way it's on surface right here. It's just like I don't get why they didn't put it in the trench. It doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, so this is basically the LOX return. I think there was already one for the launch mount. Yeah, obviously. So that's why we don't see the venting from the launch mount, is because they already had that LOX return for the launch mount. And that is why I assumed they also had it for the tower and that they would just tap into the one for the launch mount. But that never happened, apparently. And now that's what they're doing, is making it, they're basically just deleting that tower drain, which I don't know. I got a love-hate relationship with it. It's kind of cool to see just because everything is so big. So it's nice to know when prop load is ending just by seeing when that vent starts and stops. But at the same time, dumping liquid oxygen onto the base of the integration tower, not ideal. So yeah, probably best to get rid of it. But I don't know if that's going to come into play for Flight 14 because really all they have to do is, I mean, if they finish it, they finish it, and if they don't, they just don't disconnect this line right here. Yeah, you just leave it in place until wait. Am I already?
There's some
Is there
different
a T
routing.
there already that it's like already ready for?
Well, they changed that pipe after, was it the wet dress for Flight
Yeah.
12? So yeah, they extended it and ran it along the exterior to the corner.
I don't think I have this might show it. But it's got a T going somewhere.
Huh, that's interesting. I don't remember seeing that before.
I wonder if that's new, because they may already be set up to just switch over. So kind of basically putting themselves in a position where, like, if it's ready to go, then they can do it, then they can use it, and if not, then it's not going to hold up launch, essentially. Oh, what do we got going on here? Yes. Oh my god. I think we're preparing for more cladding.
Yep, that would kind of make sense.
Heck yeah. So we're getting it up to at least here.
Which we kind of already suspected, because I believe on, is it 37 already has the cladding going up higher? So.
Oh
we
yeah,
were
it goes up
expecting
one
that.
level higher at 37. I think it's just one level. This has been strange to me for a while, because I don't get. Because I remember when they did this on the first tower, they completely swapped out the tabs on here, and for whatever reason, I don't know if that's because the panels that they installed were like bigger, heavier than what they originally had planned or something like that. But every tower that came after that, you would have thought that they would have just had the correct tabs on them. So I don't know what they're actually doing, but the fact that they have to do some sort of preparation for them kind of gives us an indication that we'll be seeing those come soon. Actually, let me see if I can look at it from a ground shot, because probably get a clear view of them. Trying to like figure out which tower you're looking at through these tiny thumbnails is hilarious. Let's see. I think this is tower 2.
Up there to the right, I think you've got, yeah. I've got the mesh up, so you can't really see.
Of course. Well,
Try a couple more
tried.
photos to the right. I think maybe there's not mesh. Never mind.
Well, you can kind of see that it's like they're shaving the tabs down. You can see a little square right there versus these ones.
It's just weird because it looks darker, almost like they're heat treating it or something. I suppose maybe they could be coating it or something.
Or it almost looks like they're like drilling them out to make the holes big enough for the
I think the
panels.
holes are the same size. I think it's just the fact that the one is darker and the other one's lighter color. It makes the whole contrast. It looks bigger.
Yeah, it's just strange to me that a modification for a known like component would have to be made. It's not like anything has changed with those panels. Ooh. Oh man, I could probably stare at that all day. I'm not going to get into that right now. Let's see. We'll go back over to that aerial view. But yeah, so like I said, we don't know if that's going to cause any delays to Flight 14, but this is probably. So right now they're still adding those panels onto the walls. I guess they're all down there now. It's interesting. Let's see from a different angle. I think we can see this
that
one
one
better.
photo. Yeah, that might show it.
It's like it follows the curve of the ramp. I think all the way down. I don't know if it's just like this right here. I was thinking they were going to fill all the way across, but I guess this is the funny thing is like this is the part that actually isn't getting that much heating. It's out here. So it's weird because this part was like relatively unmarked. I think there's so much scaffolding.
Oh, you can see the plate in that one. Right against the wall at the bottom.
Like down here.
Yeah.
And up. But I feel like this is the area that needs it.
Yeah, maybe they'll get there. It's a lot of plates.
Just do a little bit every flight. Yeah, so I'm guessing all those are up there, but attaching them to the wall is different than everything that comes after because there's a lot of welding that is involved. Actually, these are actually faster than any other time they've done it, technically. Because it's welding steel. Actually, it's kind of like doing it to the launch mount for Pad 1 when they put those on steel. So on the base of the integration tower for Pad 1, they had to put plates onto the or brackets onto the wall first and then weld it to those brackets. But this is just steel on steel, so it's a little bit faster. But yeah, I mean, they've also been making some weird modifications on the inside of the launch mount, which we're not entirely sure where they're going. I know the basic assumption is that they're doing something inside of the QDs. However, we can't necessarily assume that that's where they're going because the only way to get things into this launch mount is up through the basement, and they would have to come all the way up the stairs with it, assuming the stairs reach the QDs. Well, they actually have to reach the QDs. So basically, you can come in through the bottom, carry things all the way up, or you can lift them in through the door to where it needs to go. But they've been taking pipes out, bringing pipes in. I have not actually seen any high quality images of those pipes, which kind of sucks because we do have high quality images of everything that was in there before the hoods were placed on there. So we don't really know what they're doing. For all we know, they could be actually adding something to the QD itself.
See, what's interesting is that some of the pipes have they've been taking some out in pieces, and it seemed like a couple of them actually went down in the launch mount like opening,
through the
and then
clamps.
maybe they put them in through the gap that you had your cursor on, like behind the arm, like they squeezed it through the wall, like so like he would be going into the, I guess, the mechanical deck of the launch mount
Yeah,
as well. So that's interesting.
I think it's actually easier. It's probably easier going in this way than it is through there, because I feel like that gap is not that big.
It's not terribly big, but it did seem like maybe some of the pipes had gone down to that level, but um, maybe not. They've definitely been taking some scraps out. Like where they are replacing is definitely tight to get to because of the size of the pieces that have been coming out and the size of the pieces that are going in. It's definitely something that they're kind of manhandling, smaller sections into and out of the mount.
So this is where they're lifting it in through.
I don't know if it's necessarily there. I thought it was on the other side, like more towards, in front of the locks, QD.
This looks like the receiving bay to me.
Based on the camera position, it wasn't over there when we saw it originally, but they could be moving stuff around.
Yeah, this right here is exactly what they don't want to have to do anymore. I can't. How do you even? I would like to watch them set up that scaffolding. That's got to be sketchy.
Yeah, they've got multiple little tabs probably welded on the inner wall that they build off of, and everything is kind of in tension and supported.
Sorry, I just got distracted. What were we talking about before this?
The small pipes.
Right. Yeah, so I do wonder if maybe these could be some of them down here, but I don't even recognize any of those. I was kind of hoping it would be like a trash can that had all of them, the old stuff. I mean, there's new stuff over here too, so they're doing some modification in there. No idea what it is though.
So there is a trash can, and Alex says it's got deluge pipes in it.
Alex, who?
What do you mean, Alex? Who?
Why is Alex in the chat?
He's not. He said it
Okay.
before.
Wait, he said what? Again?
You were asking about the pipes from the OLM. He said there's a trash can there that has pipes in it for the deluge stuff from inside the OLM.
I don't see him.
Might be in last week's flyover.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely a bunch of stuff down here. Like they're doing a lot of stuff inside of here right now. They got all these caps off for I think these are for the basket strainers possibly. And then they got some bunch of stuff down here, like tiny flex hoses, or not tiny, but short flex hoses, which I also don't recognize. Those are probably for the actual valve skids and stuff that are in there instead of being QD related. But yeah, interesting to see a modification of that nature right now. Obviously, they're making a fairly major change, I would say. I don't think they're just swapping something out. I think they're making a fairly major modification, similar to kind of what we're seeing on the tower right now with bringing that lock string down, but it's something different. Matter of fact, actually, okay, so right now they have well, I don't think that would work. So right now that they have that drain, the methane drain. That's another thing that I feel like needs to go away. The one that's out here. So we'll know if this goes away, then that's what they did, is get rid of the methane drain, because I like that's one of the only features of this launch pad that I don't like, is the fact that they're still having to bleed methane that way. So I would love to know why they have to do that, because I'm pretty sure they already have a methane return, so it doesn't make sense. But maybe whatever they're doing inside of there is replacing this situation that they have going on. All right. Any questions from the launch site?
Couple of questions and then a bunch of donations. I'll start off with the donations. We want to thank Rich R for his $100 donation. He says, just in case you need some O2, fly safe. Thank you so much, Rich R. And then Cooper 2007 donated $50 and says, thank you for the updates. Drew R donated $5 Canadian. Thank you so much. And then Crane Man answered your question about the crane. He says, I suppose so, with 300T CWs loaded on the trays. Don't know the length of the current boom, though. So Marvin can do it, possibly.
Okay.
And then the questions for you. We'll start with Python's question. Why doesn't ship Flame Trench have stainless steel burn panels like the launch site? Have we seen any signs of that upgrade?
Nope. The only signs that we thought that it was going to happen ended up never happening. So I don't know. In my opinion, I think to me it seems like that static fire test stand is like somehow temporary.
Well, I mean, it's similar to kind of like the version 1 launch mount. Like it's still kind of a dev thing. I mean, that's the first trench that they had built for Starship. So I mean, they learned some things from it. I mean, the just because it's a trench, I mean, the heat loads are a little bit different. I mean, you've got basically 6 engines versus 33 for the launch mount. So there may not be as much heat on those walls. It may be within the thresholds that they're kind of expecting for kind of the erosion rate on the wall. They don't necessarily need steel. If I had to guess that, they may end up building another trench and retiring this one at some point. Or if they, want to have 2 trenches, maybe during they build a new one and then retire this one temporarily, make upgrades to it like steel, cladding on the walls, and then they bring it back. So it's probably more a downtime thing right now. It's not an issue that is causing them, delays. But if they were to do the work, then that would cause a delay.
Just do a little bit each time.
Best way to do it. Nicholas is wondering, could it be possible that SpaceX is digging the trench for the fueling lines beside of the whole tank farm and then go into the side next to the trench before the tower?
I'm guessing we're talking about.
Yes. Right there in that photo.
Well, hold on. Let me move to a different view really quick because I feel like it's also related to this trench. Can you read the question again?
Sure. Could it be possible that SpaceX is digging the trench for the fueling lines beside the whole tank farm and then going into the side next to the trench before the tower?
We kind of thought that, I thought that for like a day until Alex told me I was dumb. And they're really just reinforcing the ground by the on the other side of the wall. It seems like, so probably not.
I mean, there will have to be a trench at some point for the propellant lines to then be routed over to Tower 1 from this rough area, but it doesn't seem like that's what those sheet piles were actually for.
I mean, I suppose they could come diagonal across here. I mean, they have to. We know they have to go that way at some point. Like it's not going to come around this side of the tower, which is, I think, what he was asking.
Yeah, I mean, it has to basically come from the point that we were looking at where those sheet piles are at, because that's where all the valve switching is. In order to reuse as much of the tank farm as possible, you'd need to basically valve off of the corner down here on the left side, and then basically go to either pad. So right now it's only going to pad 2, but you need to add a way to send that all to pad 1, and then that would kind of, at some point, the lines have to go in a direction that get over to that tower and launch mount. So
I found the trash can. Nah. That's not from the... Wait. That kind of looks like some of the stuff they're pulling out. These are way too big, though. Those are from over on the other side of the tank farm. It's a big pipe. Okay, sorry. Anyways, do we have another question?
More questions. Yep. Steven's wondering, will they share the deluge system or create a new one?
Definitely creating a new one. Theoretically, you could share them, but the distance is really far. It doesn't necessarily matter for cryo transfer per se, because even though you're pumping at a really high rate, there is a lot of friction during that distance, but like the pump rate, I mean, I don't want to say it doesn't matter. It does matter as much as it does for the water side. So like the shorter the path, the better for the water, because if you pump all the way over this far, these gas generators are how do I phrase this? Basically, this launch mount would have a more powerful deluge system than this one if they did that, because this is closer. But they're definitely not going to tap into these like that. I don't even know how that could work. Instead, I think the plans call for that water farm to be right here-ish, I think.
Give me 2
Or is it
seconds.
here?
I'll check.
I mean, I don't really believe much of that site plan type stuff. I think they're probably still developing that. I mean, more or less, it should be kind of a cookie cutter stamp of pad 2, just kind of oriented a little differently.
I just
think it'll
tossed
look
the
closer
Patreon
to
lounge.
39A. It'll look more like 39As.
So yeah, the isolation and purging will be close to
It's
where
like way
the
over here, right?
roof is sitting, or the roof is, and then water farm next to it.
Like, I think the break room is going to have to go for the water farm.
Yeah, if the
Yeah.
plans are to be believed, of course.
Yeah, and the plans also had... Oh, okay. So I get why they can't go this direction anymore, as far as like if they wanted to bring a vehicle in this way, because they're supposed to expand the tank farm to some degree over here. Oh, I should open this, huh? I'm sitting here looking at a different screen. Yeah. So this is a blast wall, right? No, I think that's a road.
I think it's just a tiny access road.
Yeah, but this is supposed to come all the way around. Or sorry, this is supposed to be... I feel like they should be entering through here instead of coming in this way.
The only thing you might run into with that is where it goes by the corner of pad 2's trench. It might get a bit tight. Might be a pinch point, but
Yeah,
you could still bring it around Tower 2 and then back over to the outer perimeter road, technically.
Yeah, Zach, this is why I was kind of saying that they would go through the roundabout in order to get vehicles to pad 1.
Doing all this would be kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I still don't totally believe, a lot. I mean, a lot of this stuff, like the existing stuff is fine. Some of the stuff that's, maybe like a derivative of the existing is fine. But like you start getting down toward the bottom of the site, and like a lot of this is kind of like they just drew shapes and put names in there. Like that's basically, what it kind of means, I think. So it's definitely subject to change.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Do we have any other questions?
A couple more, and then we also got a donation from Andy Alder, who donated £10, and he says, "Hits Honda tipper Mike Dung." That was a tongue twister for me. So thank you for the donation, Andy. And then DMHMT is wondering, Can you clear up why there's water in the LOX reclaim area so deep, and if it will damage anything? Will there be a sump pump eventually?
So they're talking about the high pressure purge area, Zach, on pad 2. And this flyover showed there a lot of standing water down in that pit.
Mm-hmm.
This one?
No, pad 2.
This
The
one.
H-rack.
The pit by purging.
Sorry, I'm distracted because I was thinking of another comment in the chat that I will respond to after this one. So we're trying to look straight down into it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You
or
were
at an
looking at
angle.
it earlier. Yeah, that one.
Yuck. Why did we want to see this?
She wants to know why
gross.
there's so much water in that LOX reclaim area so deep, and if it will damage anything, and will there be a sump pump eventually?
I mean, I thought there was going to be a sump pump from the beginning, but that apparently didn't happen. I don't know.
Or whatever one they did install is woefully underpowered.
Yeah. I guess they probably need a place to pump it because they can't just like discharge it into the wetlands. So that might be part of the problem, is not having a place to send it. But one of the things I was going to respond to, Cynthia in the chat said, in reference to what I was talking about with the distance for a shared water farm, that he said it matters more for cryo than water. I disagree with that, just because what we've seen with pad 39, it has one extra gas generator for each system. And initially I thought that I was expecting that they would do the same thing here, in order to like increase output from each system. But Ryan made a good point when I was talking about it the other day, is that the water farm for 39 is a lot further away than this one is, and that extra gas generator on each system is probably a result of that distance. So
because you also have to think in the pipe. I mean, you typically think of like liquids not really having friction, but you do have friction in the pipe that is going to cause essentially pressure drop, or you're going to have to apply more pressure on one end in order to get that to function properly at the opposite end. And in the case of the deluge farm, like they're basically targeting like a specific flow rate in the trench, so they need to ensure that they basically meet that flow rate in order to cool the exhaust of the booster. So you think about the same thing at pad 1. They kind of need the same thing. So if you have a longer pipe for the water, you're going to have a lot more friction losses, which means you have to run it at a much higher pressure in order to get things to function over there properly. So with the tank farm, they actually have the pumping station is relatively centered compared to the two pads. So it's not really going to affect from a cryo standpoint very much to send the cryo to pad 1 from the current pump setup.
Yeah, and I think the friction increases with diameter. Pretty sure. So yeah, these are way bigger pipes than what the cryo pipes are. So they have more surface area in general over the same length. So I think the friction would be greater in the larger pipe as well too. So you definitely have that more of a problem in the water area than you do in the LOX side or on your cryo side. Cool. Any other questions?
Nope, that's it for us.
Alrighty. Well, with that, we are nearing 2:00. So, I guess we could. I didn't want to go into the ship 40 stuff, but I feel like we should save that for the Tuesday show, especially since we'll probably have more info then. So, yeah, with that, I guess we'll call it here. Still got a lot of stuff to do today, and I know a lot of people want to get out and enjoy the rest of their Sundays. So yeah, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Glad we were able to be on. Like I said, I didn't think I was going to be able to be here this week, so glad to be on with y'all this week, and hopefully we'll see y'all on the next show. I'm not sure if I'll be on the next one or not, but we'll find out. But thanks to Ryan for being here with me. Is sometimes more difficult to do it with only two people, but also sometimes easier in some ways as well too. But yeah, and thanks to Andy for handling all the questions and donations, Matt for running the stream, obviously, and Mauricio for getting up there and getting these images for us as always. And as we said, if y'all weren't here in the beginning of the episode, Mauricio is doing another flyover on Monday. It will be a shorter, a mini flyover, I guess, so less images, but at least we'll have a second update in that week. So I think they'll possibly, is the plan to have another show midweek for that one too?
Nope,
Is that part of the Starbase Expanded?
It can be used for Starbase Expanded, but it's mostly going to be, the images are going to be for Patreon paid members and YouTube paid members. So it's a perk.
Awesome. Great. Well, yeah, looking forward to those. And hopefully, if I'm here next week, I'm looking forward to being here then. So with that, I'll pass it off to Ryan.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always good to look over all the photos and speculate about various things. And there's a lot of stuff going on. This is, one of the busiest times that Starbase has seen with so many projects going on in parallel. So always cool stuff to look at and lots of stuff to discuss. So yeah, thanks for having me, and I'll pass it off to Indy.
As always, thank you all for joining us. We have the mini flyover Tuesday. We have Starbase Expanded Tuesday afternoon. And then keep an eye out for a drive-by. And then the regular flyover on Friday, show and tell Friday evening. And then Starbase Weekly, hopefully with Zack next Sunday. Other than that, thank you guys as always for having me. Matt?
All right. Yeah, thank you. Just basically mirroring what everybody else said. We really appreciate you guys being here. Indy told you about all of the shows and flyovers that we have coming up. It's going to be a packed week. We've also got Expanded Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Central, so look forward to that too. So yeah, until then, most engines cut off, hot staging confirmed. Love you, bye.